Chapter 1017. Killing them all with a single sword strike was enough to topple a city. Then, should this daddy also change my name one day, I'll just call myself Toppling the Nation or Toppling the Heavens or something like that. But from then on, I don't know if it was because this old man was trying to break through the path to heaven, or because of some other reason a ferocious heavenly punishment suddenly descended on this old man. This old man was actually struck so hard that his soul was almost destroyed. This old man used all his remaining strength to escape back to the Misty mansion in a sorry state. Even until today, I still can't take a single step out. Can't take a single step out? June Moxie asked in bewilderment. That's right. As long as this old man appears, the rainbow tribulation cloud will immediately gather. Furthermore, it will not stop until this old man dies. This old man can only hide here to avoid being detected by the heavenly punishment, giving me a chance to live on. I can't remember clearly when it was, but this old man had tried to go out once. But before this old man could even leave this underground cave, the Misty mansion outside had already met with a calamity. Thus, this old man can only stay here forever. Meow. Ching Chong sighed helplessly. Heavenly punishment? What kind of heavenly punishment is it exactly? To think that even an expert like you would have to retreat. June Moxie furrowed his brows. Towards heavenly tribulation, he had never been afraid. One of the cheats of the Hongjun Pagoda was that it could absorb the heavenly tribulation and convert it into the purest heaven-earth spiritual chi. From another perspective, the heavenly tribulation was the most ideal nourishment for the Hongjun Pagoda. If it was just heavenly punishment, June Moxie almost wanted to help him absorb it. It's world-extinguishing wild lightning. Miao Ching-Ching's voice carried a hint of lingering fear. World-extinguishing wild lightning? A type of lightning tribulation? Could it be that there was no way to resist it? June Moxie was extremely puzzled. Lightning tribulation was a thing that could be experienced from the venerable realm onwards. Even if he didn't have the advantage of cheating, there were still plenty of experts who could overcome it. How could an expert like Miao Qingsheng not be able to withstand it? Heavenly punishment. How can the world-exterminating wild lightning be mentioned in the same breath as a normal lightning tribulation? Firstly, its scale is at least 10,000 times larger than a normal lightning tribulation. Once the heavenly punishment is formed, it will cover a vast area, reaching everywhere. The wild lightning connects the heavens above and the earth below. Any one of them will be as thick as a small mountain. Secondly, its power. This lightning is purple in color, and its power is so great that it's hard to imagine. Everything in the world, once struck by it, will be instantly and soundlessly turned into fine powder. Just these two traits alone are already extremely troublesome to deal with. However, this old man still has a way to deal with them. However, the third trait is the most troublesome. This old man is completely helpless against it. Miao Qingsheng sighed. Oh, was there anything more troublesome than these two characteristics? This junior is willing to hear the details. June Moxie was greatly taken aback. From Miao Qingsheng's description, Da Xiao already understood that this world-exterminating wild lightning had the two traits of large area of effect, indiscriminate attack, and irresistible. These two traits were already too terrifying, but there was actually an even more terrifying third trait. If it's just the first two traits with this old man's methods, although I wouldn't dare to say that I would be able to deal with them easily, I would still be able to barely deal with them. But the thing that truly puts this old man in a difficult spot is that once this heavenly punishment is formed, as long as I, the target, do not disappear completely, it will continue on. That year, I tried to deal with it for 7 days and 7 nights. And in the end, my Xian-Chi was completely exhausted, but the heavenly punishment did not show any signs of weakening. That's why this old man said that if I can't pass this heavenly punishment, I can only stay in this damnable place forever. So that's how it is. June Moxie's heart also began to pound. If it was only the first two traits, Da Xiao was confident that with the help of the Hongjun Pagoda, he would be able to deal with it. But now that he understood the third trait of the heavenly punishment, the might of the world exterminating wild lightning was so terrifying, and he did not know how long it would last. If the heavenly punishment's strength was too ridiculous, and the Hongjun Pagoda exploded, wouldn't that be the end of him? After all, Moxie did not know how much the Hongjun Pagoda could withstand, and he did not know how strong the world-exterminating wild lightning was. If he tried it rashly, Moxie knew that he would not be able to take such a risk. But the Hongjun Pagoda was his greatest trump card. Little lad, this old man has been talking to you for so long, but I still don't know your real name? Miao Qingcheng took the initiative to change the topic. To him, the mere mention of the world-exterminating wild lightning was an extremely depressing matter. My name is Moxie. Moxie said honestly, since the other party had already seen through his true strength. Continuing to hide would only make him a laughingstock. Oh, this name is not bad. Miao Qingcheng clearly knew nothing about the name of the evil monarch. Righteous path of the world. This life's name is Emocia. Not bad, not bad. Moxie rubbed his nose awkwardly. Was there such a meaning to his name? Even he himself did not know about it. Moxie, these few days, the Misty Mansion has been in turmoil, the heavens and earth have changed positions, and the flow of water has been reversed. This was all done by you, right? Miao Qingcheng asked after a moment of silence. Even if Senior did not say it, this Junior also has his doubts. Within the Misty Mansion, the Zhan family's ambitions were clear for all to see. They even used an extremely sinister method to steal the luck of the Miao family to strengthen themselves. Senior, as the founder of the Misty Mansion, the ancestor of the Miao family, why did you not interfere in such a shady business? At the very least, you should have informed the current head of the Miao family about this. Moxie furrowed his brows as he asked. Some things are not something that can be done just because one wants to do it. Miao Qingcheng sighed again, and his tone became one of extreme disappointment. At the same time, a cloud of smoke rose from the hall, condensing into the figure of a person. This person wore a tall crown on his head and was dressed in green robes. His features were extremely lean, and his figure was tall. He stood in the center of the hall with his hands clasped behind his back. After a while, the figure became clearer and clearer. This person's face was fair and beardless, and just from his appearance, one could tell that he was only in his 30s or 40s. But when this person's eyes opened and closed, although there was no light, they seemed to be filled with a strange meaning. When he opened his eyes, it was as if the entire world was filled with light. But when he closed his eyes, it was as if the entire world had been plunged into darkness. At this moment, this strange pair of eyes was staring at Moxie. Then, that person gently moved his feet, walked step by step from the center of the hall to the stairs, and slowly sat down. Moxie's eyes lit up, because when Miao Qingcheng walked, Moxie seemed to feel as if a dazzling galaxy had appeared before his eyes. Within it, millions of stars moved with Miao Qingcheng's unhurried footsteps, following a mystical trajectory. In this world, there was actually someone who could reach such a level. At this moment, the shock in Moxie's heart had reached an indescribable level. Miao Qingcheng's cultivation had truly reached the level of seizing the fortune of heaven and earth. And such an expert was still sealed on this continent with a casual wave of the 9 Nether First Young Master's hand, unable to leave no matter what from this. One could see how strong the 9 Nether First Young Master was. There's no need to be envious. I believe that one day, you will also reach my level. With your current age and speed of improvement, that day will definitely not be too far away. Miao Qingcheng smiled lightly, and it was as if spring had bloomed in this smile. The rivers thawed, and all living things revived. Yes, I also think so. Moxie nodded his head, his expression still the same as before. A look of praise appeared in Miao Qingcheng's eyes. If Moxie had said a few words of modesty, it meant that his state of mind had not reached the state of being unaffected by all things. In other words, there were still some flaws. But Moxie agreed with it calmly. This included extraordinary self-confidence, as well as unshakable determination. It was enough to prove that even in the face of Miao Qingqing's terrifying pressure, his state of mind was still not in a fluster. This was the most precious thing. Speaking of the matters of the Zhang family, it all started tens of thousands of years ago. At that time, Master suddenly returned to the Xian continent after disappearing for 1,000 years, bringing back a few books. And after I took over the Misty Mansion, I discovered that those books were left in this space. Miao Qingqiang smiled bitterly and said, "One of the books recorded the art of feng shui. Since I had nothing to do, I studied it and discovered that there were indeed many profound principles recorded within. If I could truly grasp it and use it to its fullest potential, it might not necessarily be inferior to the highest realm of Xianqi. Furthermore, it even contained the laws of heaven and earth." This old man studied it bitterly for 200 years and finally had some success. That day, this old man's 8 disciples were all practicing in front of the hall. This old man had just grasped a wondrous technique and was in a good mood. In a moment of excitement, I actually divined the fate of the various families. And today's calamity was precisely because of that divination. At that time, I used the art of feng shui to look at my 8 disciples and discovered that the fate of 7 of them was high and low, rising and falling. However, the source of their fate had never been lost, and it would accompany the main palace of the Misty Mansion for tens of thousands of years. However, only the disciple, surnamed Zhan, showed signs of exhaustion, and 10,000 years later, his family would be destroyed. Miao Qingqiang shook his head helplessly. At that time, I said it out loud. At that time, I told my 6th disciple, Zhan Kuang. I told him to take note that in the long years to come, it would be best for the descendants of the family to do good deeds and not have any desire for power. Furthermore, they must not harm human lives. Perhaps, due to the accumulated fortune of 10,000 generations, the heavens will be able to sense it, and this crisis will be averted unknowingly. Jun Moxie laughed bitterly in his heart. "You're really too naive. The vile nature of human nature is something that even sages cannot eradicate, much less humans. How could the Zhan family be willing to lay low for 10,000 years? Possessing peerless divine skills and power that could overturn the heavens and the earth. Yet he could only leave his power and do good deeds. He could only give, but not receive anything in return. It might be possible for one person to do it for a lifetime, but to do it for generations, how could that be possible?" At that time, Zhan Kuang asked, "Master, other than this method, is there any other method that can resolve this crisis?" Chapter 10:18. Jun Imo Xie was very astute, so he immediately understood the meaning behind her words. As expected, Miao Qingqiang continued. At that time, this old man laughed heartily and said that it's hard to change fate, but there are always variables that can be changed. As the saying goes, everything depends on one's own effort. It's not that there is no way. If someone can sense it when the luck of the Zhan clan is about to disperse, then at the cost of millions of lives, they can forcefully change the fate of the other clans into their own. At that time, there will be a huge change. The only problem is that this method seems feasible, but it's actually a huge risk. If it fails, not only will the clan be destroyed, there will also be eternal retribution. As he spoke until here, he sighed. The 6th disciple, Zhan Kuang, could be said to have the best aptitude among my 8 disciples. If he could focus on cultivating Xianqi, his achievements in the future might not be lower than this old man's. Miao Qingqiang said regretfully. But from that day onwards, he actually went down the wrong path. "Senior, please don't blame me. This is also within reason. That day you explained this matter in front of the 8 disciples. Furthermore, only the Zhan clan was on the verge of extinction, while the other 7 clans were still safe and sound." Zhan Kuang naturally felt uncomfortable in his heart. Jun Moxie said, "So he passed down this matter? To change the fate of the Zhan clan?" "No." Miao Qingqiang shook his head. Many years later, the 7 disciples passed away one by one. This old man set down a rule that forbade the disciples from using the holy nascent soul technique to recultivate, because if they were to recultivate, they would be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort, and their cultivation speed would be extremely fast. However, the lightning tribulation they would have to endure would be 4 times greater than normal. Sooner or later, they would not be able to escape the tragic fate of having their souls scattered. Thus, they might as well choose to reincarnate and cultivate from the beginning. As long as their souls are not destroyed, they will return one day, and it will be easier for them to pass the final trial. When the 7 disciples passed away, this old man placed a soul imprint on their souls. This was to ensure that they could reincarnate safely, and as long as they worked hard enough, they would be able to roam the world freely. But Zhang Kuang went against this old man's orders and did not choose to reincarnate. Miao Qing Cheng continued. At that time, the 9 nether young masters had already appeared. Because of Master's affection, this old man strictly ordered the disciples of Misty Mansion not to kill the young masters of 9 nether. He could expel them, but he absolutely could not kill them. That year, the 9 nether 6 young master was wreaking havoc in the pugilistic world, and the 3 holy lands declared that no one could stop him. Zhang Kuang suddenly volunteered to fight. After that battle, the 9 nether 6 young master was heavily injured. Before he could escape back to the 9 nether passageway, he was surrounded and killed by the people from the holy lands. As for Zhang Kuang, he had disappeared without a trace. It said that Zhang Kuang's soul was destroyed in the battle with the 9 nether 6th young master. At that time, although the 9 nether 6th young master had the 9 nether divine technique and was rather powerful, Zhang Kuang had already received my teachings. Even if he lost, it was impossible for his soul to be destroyed. In fact, this old man reckons that the chances of victory between them is only 50-50. In fact, Zhang Kuang might even be slightly stronger. After all, he is this old man's proudest disciple. The result of the battle was really unexpected. This old man was extremely sad at that time, and even fasted for 3 months for Zhang Kuang's sake. But when I returned, I discovered that the mysterious book that Master had left behind had actually disappeared without a trace. From that time onwards, this old man was certain that Zhang Kuang had not died. Instead, he had hidden himself. Miao Qingcheng laughed bitterly. But he did not know that the final stage of cultivating Xianqi can only be broken through with Master's personal guidance. This is the true secret of the void-shattering realm. Although Zhang Kuang's cultivation was already extremely high at that time, he had not reached the final step. So even if he could conceal himself, he did not have long to live. He could only borrow the power of the martial disintegration realm again and again to reincarnate the holy infant. Speaking of which, Zhang Kuang can be said to have put in a lot of effort. And in the recent 2,000 years, this old man could clearly feel that the Miao family's luck had changed, and it was gradually decreasing year by year. And the Zhang family's luck was rising with a boundless, bloodthirsty aura. This was greatly inconsistent with the divination from back then, and Zhang Kuang must have made a move, using a variable to affect fate. But since I'm here, as long as I make a move, the world-destroying wild lightning will be able to destroy the entire Misty Mansion. So this old man, he chuckled lightly. As long as the Misty Mansion is not destroyed, whether it's the Zhang family or the Miao family, it's all the same. Although this old man is the ancestor of the Miao family, I cannot sacrifice the entire Misty Mansion for the sake of the Miao family. As for informing the current family head of the Miao family about this matter, it is even more impossible. The moment it is reported, it will cause a war between the 2 families. With the Zhang family's accumulated strength, and with the support of Zhang Kuang's holy infant, the Miao family is definitely not their match. It will only hasten the destruction of the Miao family, and even the destruction of the entire Misty Mansion. This is something that this old man does not want to see the most. So this old man did not make a move, nor did I tell anyone about this matter. But the will of the heavens has long been decided. It's hard for a person to change fate. Miao Qingcheng laughed lightly. With your interference, the Zhang family's luck can be said to be reduced to less than 1/10 of its original state. Destruction is imminent. Looks like this old man is still one step behind in his calculations. The will of the heavens is like a blade. Who dares to defy it? The so-called defying the heavens and changing fate is nothing more than a joke, a complete and utter joke. Jun Moxie said lightly, "If the will of the heavens is as it is, then it is as it is." Miao Qingcheng paused for a moment before chuckling. "Well said. What a good if the will of the heavens is as it is. However, I say that my will is the will of the heavens." Jun Moxie's brows twitched as he laughed evilly. "So what if it's the will of the heavens? Why can't I defy it? Arrogant enough. Truly evil enough." Miao Qingcheng looked at him from the corner of his eyes. "Speak. What is your true purpose for coming to my misty mansion? What do you want?" "My purpose? It's very simple. I just want to take a few seven-colored holy fruits." Jun Moxie chuckled and did not hide anything. "If there's a chance to transplant a few seven-colored holy tree, I'd be more than happy to." "Seven-colored holy fruits." Miao Qingcheng furrowed his brows. "How many?" "I reckon that 100 or so groups would be enough." "I'm not a greedy person." Jun Moxie chuckled. 100 sets? Not greedy? Even with Miao Qingcheng's mental fortitude, he could not help but roll his eyes. "This is not greedy? Are you dreaming, kid?" Miao Qingcheng really treated Jun Moxie's words as a joke. 100 sets of seven-colored holy fruits? From the time the Misty Mansion was built until now, it might not even be that many, right? Old man Miao snorted coldly and said, "Just now, that extremely pure life chi, was that something you sent out? Life chi?" Jun Moxie stared blankly for a moment before understanding dawned on him. So that was the case. Because he had used the Tree of Life, this old fellow several thousand zhong underground had actually sensed it. Wasn't this fellow's nose a little too sensitive? That's right. This old man sensed the scent of the Holy Spirit tree earlier. Miao Qingcheng looked at him. "There should be someone heavily injured up there, and you used the Holy Spirit tree to treat them, right? Treating injuries? That's not wrong. But what I used was not some Holy Spirit tree." Jun Moxie said. "Could it be that Senior called me down for this matter? What is that Holy Spirit tree?" "That Holy Spirit tree is a strange little tree that Master got his hands on from who knows where. Legend has it that it has the miraculous effect of reviving the dead, and it has a miraculous effect on souls. It also has many other mysterious abilities. Master raised it for 1,000 years, but it never grew up. It was only later that he found out that this God Spirit tree could only grow in the purest spiritual chi without any impurities. But how could there be such a place in the world? The place where Master grew this tree was the place with the purest spiritual chi in the entire Xian continent. Since even Master's place could not grow, it meant that this tree could not grow in the Xian continent. In other words, no matter how miraculous that tree was, it was still a piece of trash. In a fit of anger, Master abandoned it at the peak of a snowy mountain, leaving it to fend for itself. Leaving it to fend for itself. I haven't seen it for a very, very long time. Miao Qingcheng let out a long sigh. "Today, I called you down because I wanted to take a look at that tree. We can be considered old friends. Seeing it is like seeing Master watering it in the past. Secondly, this old man suffered the heavenly punishment that year, and some of my spiritual sense was destroyed. I also wanted to borrow the healing power of that tree. Although the Holy Spirit tree is not fully formed yet, it can still be of some help. So that's the case." Jun Xie pondered for a moment. Then he revealed an awkward expression on his face as he spoke in a gentle voice. "This junior was fortunate enough to find this tree that day. After that, I don't know how, but this strange little tree inexplicably drilled into my body from my palm. Now, although I can feel its existence and can use part of its power, if I want to take it out, I'm powerless even if I want to. It was better to be safe than sorry. So it was better to be safe than sorry." Even if the person opposite him was Miao Qingcheng, Jun Moxie would definitely not reveal the Hongjun Pagoda's greatest secret. Furthermore, it was not impossible for him to treat Miao Qingcheng but he definitely could not take it out to sell a favor. The Qian Sun Serpent Queen was still relying on this tree to hang on to her life. If Miao Qingchang needed to stay behind to be treated, then what should he do? And there was another point. That little tree was not small anymore, and his Hongjun Pagoda was the place with the purest spiritual qi. If Miao Qingcheng became greedy, he wouldn't even have a place to cry. There's actually such a miraculous thing. Miao Qingcheng stared at him for a moment and finally said, "No wonder your aptitude is so extraordinary. So, it's because of the Holy Spirit tree. Speaking of which, this matter can also be considered reasonable. If there's a place in this world that is absolutely pure, without any impurities, it can only be in the meridians of the human body. The Holy Spirit tree is relying on your body to extend its life force. And because of that, you've obtained an aptitude far surpassing that of an ordinary person. That Holy Spirit tree is truly difficult for this junior to take out, but if senior doesn't mind, this junior can try to treat it for you. How about it?" Jun Moxie probed. This was a heavenly good karma. If Miao Qingcheng was willing to accept, then Jun Moxie would be able to live in the Misty Mansion without any obstructions. In fact, he might even be able to ask for 107-colored holy fruit trees. That's fine too. Miao Qingcheng looked at him for a moment before stretching out a hand and closing his eyes. Jun Moxie stepped forward and took hold of his hand. Closing his eyes, he circulated the energy of the tree of life, channeling it into Miao Qingcheng's hand. The rest of the matter was naturally left to Miao Qingcheng himself. After a long, long time, Miao Qingcheng let out a long breath, and a look of joy appeared on his face. "You can let go now. Although your soul has not fully recovered, it has already regained its vitality. In time, it should be able to return to its previous state. The life energy of that Holy Spirit tree is much stronger than before, and it should be able to bring out the best in each other." As he spoke, Miao Qingcheng looked at him with a faint smile. "With this old man's identity, I can't take advantage of you for free. How about this?" He paused for a moment before continuing. "I can see that you've also fallen into a bottleneck, and you're just a step away from breaking through. Let this old man lend you a helping hand. Today, there are only 2 updates. Recommending a book, Spring of the Great Tang by the Young Fat God. This guy seems to be a super lascivious person. Just by looking at the title of the book, it makes people gasp in amazement. Today I was still saying, why didn't this guy write Autumn of the Great Tang? Why do you have to write about the Great Tang? Spring." Chapter 1019. Without waiting for Jun Dashao to reply, Miao Qingcheng suddenly stretched out his hand, and a warm hand appeared above Jun Moxie's head. Jun Moxie was given a huge fright. In truth, with the sensitivity of an assassin, Dashao had been using his mental power to sense his surroundings. If the other party made any movements, he would immediately hide in the Hongjun Pagoda. But even with Dashao's powerful mental power, he did not even notice how this hand had appeared above his head. If this old man really had malicious intentions, Dashao would truly be in for a tragedy. Following that, he felt an unprecedented surge of pure Xian Qi surging out from his Baihui acupuncture point, as though the floodgates had been opened and the rivers were flowing in reverse, instantly filling up his limbs and bones. Dashao wanted to say, "I'm not cultivating Xian Qi, don't waste your energy." But under the tyrannical flow of Miao Qingcheng's true qi, he was actually unable to say a single word. And Jun Moxie was pleasantly surprised to discover that what Miao Qingcheng was sending in was actually the purest heaven-earth Yuan Qi. An unimaginable amount of Yuan Qi surged through Jun Moxie's meridians, and the art of unlocking heaven's fortune in Jun Moxie's body began to circulate on its own. With a spin of his dantian, a large amount of heaven-earth Yuan Qi was converted into primordial violet Qi, which flowed through his meridians in the opposite direction, breaking through the 6th-level barrier of the art of unlocking heaven's fortune. A look of astonishment appeared on Miao Qingcheng's face. This kid's meridians were like a bottomless pit. They were actually able to absorb the origin energy of heaven and earth that he guided endlessly. The amount of heaven-earth yuan qi he was sending in was enough to burst 3 Holy Emperor Grade 4 experts. But he could still sense that this brat's meridians were not filled to the brim yet. In other words, he had not reached the point of breaking through yet. This was an inconceivable matter. He could clearly sense that this brat was about to break through. So why was he still so difficult to deal with? Miao Qingqing's eyes flashed, and he suddenly increased the output of his yuan qi. Finally done, Miao Qingqing slowly retracted his hand, looking at Jun Dashao with a strange expression. He'd already sensed that the meridians in this kid's body had already been completely filled and were unable to accommodate the origin energy that he poured in anymore. But why was there still no sign of a breakthrough? What kind of martial arts did this kid practice? Jun Mo Xie didn't seem to understand, but Miao Qingcheng was extremely clear. In this short 1 hour, he'd used up 1,000 years' worth of his cultivation's worth of origin qi. Miao Qingcheng had cultivated bitterly for 1,000 years. What kind of concept was that? In the most conservative way, if the one sitting in front of Miao Qingcheng was Miao Xiao Miao, then the energy that Miao Qingcheng had lost to Jun Dashao would at least allow Miao Xiao Miao to advance all the way to the Saint Venerable level without any danger. One had to know that Miao Xiao Miao was only a Venerable right now. Compared to the Saint Venerable level, there was still the Saint, the Holy Emperor, and the Saint Venerable. Just these realms alone were about 40 to 50 levels apart. But what Miao Qingcheng didn't know was Jun Moxi's martial arts were completely different from any other martial arts in the continent. His art of unlocking heaven's fortune relied purely on this kind of external force. It could only stabilize his foundation and would never be able to break through. If he really wanted to break through, he could only wait for a sudden inspiration and break through in an instant. But if that kind of opportunity didn't come, even if Miao Qingcheng transferred all his energy to him, he wouldn't be able to break through in the slightest, because that kind of enlightenment would directly affect the breakthrough of the Hongjun Pagoda, and it was not something that a human could achieve. Rather than saying that Miao Qingcheng was benefiting Jun Moxi, it was more accurate to say that he was benefiting the Hongjun Pagoda. However, under Miao Qingcheng's force-feeding, Jun Moxi had indeed been pushed to the brink of a breakthrough. Right now, there was only that thin layer of window paper that had yet to be pierced. He promised the other party that he would help the other party break through, but in the end, he did not manage to do so. With Miao Qingqing's status, he naturally felt extremely embarrassed. After a long time, Jun Moxi woke up from his meditative state, feeling his entire body brimming with energy. Furthermore, the range of his divine sense and spiritual sense was vastly different from before. The originally golden qi flow in his meridians had also turned into a light purple color. He couldn't help but be overjoyed. From the looks of it, the day he broke through to the 6th level was just around the corner. You can leave now. The martial arts that you cultivate are truly strange. Even with this old man's knowledge, I'm unable to help you. Looks like I've broken my promise to a junior like you. Miao Qingqing's voice was still emotionless. Although Miao Qingqing's voice was still emotionless, Jun Moxi could still hear the strange meaning behind his words. Senior is too polite. Today, this junior has already benefited greatly. If this junior is successful in the future, I will definitely help senior resolve the heavenly punishment. Jun Moxi said with a smile. Right now, he could already feel that under Miao Qingqing's infusion of energy, the Hongjun Pagoda had undergone some unknown changes. Many thanks. After hearing those words, Miao Qingcheng looked deeply at Jun Dashao for a long time before finally saying. He did not express any doubt towards Jun Moxi's words. Instead, he thanked him, as if he had a certain degree of confidence in resolving the heavenly punishment for Jun Moxi. After saying those 2 words, his figure turned into a cloud of smoke, disappearing from the great hall. You can leave now. You really have too many secrets on you. If you stay here for too long, this old man might not be able to resist the urge to investigate your background. That way, it won't be good for either you or me. Miao Qingqing's voice drifted over. Yes, June Moxie nodded. Suddenly, he discovered that his body had floated up, and in an instant, he had already traversed an unknown distance. When he opened his eyes again, he was already in front of Miao Jingyun, Miao Dao, and Miao Jian. Seeing Jun Dashao's sudden appearance, Miao Jingyun and the other two were also given a fright. This had nothing to do with courage. For a living person to suddenly appear in front of them, even the calmest person would be shocked. Furthermore, the way Jun Moxie had appeared had completely exceeded the scope of anyone's imagination. You're back. How is it? What did the old ancestor say to you? Did he have any instructions? Miao Jingyun asked anxiously. Before Jun Moxie could reply, he saw Miao Jingyun's face change with a schwa sound, and he disappeared in an instant. Just like Jun Dashao's sudden appearance earlier, Miao Dao and Miao Jian stared at the empty spot where Miao Jingyun had been a moment ago and wiped away their cold sweat. These two were truly worthy of being brothers. It was as if their hearts were linked. Even the action of wiping away their sweat was in sync. After a period of time, Miao Jingyun once again appeared in front of the three of them. The expression on his face seemed like he was crying, but also like he was smiling. The way he looked at Jun Moxie had also become much more complicated. The four of them walked out silently, and no one said a single word. Miao Jingyun kept thinking back to what Miao Qingcheng had told him earlier. All of the contents were related to Jun Moxie. Although Miao Qingcheng did not reveal Jun Moxie's true identity or Da Xiao's motives, he still gave Miao Jingyun a few warnings. This little fellow, if you can avoid offending him, try not to offend him. Use the Misty Mansion to give him the greatest convenience. Also, his future accomplishments can be said to be immeasurable, and it is not something that the Misty Mansion can satisfy. So, do not think of controlling him. Instead, form good relationships with him first. As for the matters of the Misty Mansion from now on, let nature take its course. There is no need to force things. As the Manor Lord, you only need to stabilize the situation and grasp the general direction. As for the other conflicts, you can always extricate yourself from them. Everything has its own destiny. When Miao Jingyun heard this vague explanation, he could not understand it at all. Even if this Mo Junyi had the same free and natural physique as the Nine Nether First Young Master, and his future potential was limitless, he was still just a weak little brat right now. If he was really dangerous, it was fine to just kill him and destroy him. Why was it that even the old ancestor, a legendary character who had already reached the level of an immortal, valued him so highly? It was as if he had the intention of using the resources of the Misty Mansion to gain this kid's favor. It was simply too much. But even if he didn't understand, he still chose to believe Miao Qingcheng's words. Besides, no matter how powerful this brat was in the future, this grandson-in-law, it was already certain that he would not be able to run away. As for the rest, he would just let it develop. The higher his accomplishments in the future, wouldn't it be more beneficial to the Miao family? On the way back, Jun Moxie did not take the initiative to speak. Da Xiao could clearly feel the changes in his body, and he was both surprised and overjoyed. His gains this time had truly reached an inconceivable level. The so-called gains were not simply the vast amount of pure energy that Miao Qingcheng had given him to support his breakthrough. To Jun Moxie, although this energy was hard to come by, it was not that important, because Da Xiao had countless spirit herbs, and he even had a heaven-earth spirit vein that could be converted into unlimited energy. All he needed was some time to convert them. As long as Jun Moxie was willing, he could use those treasures to increase his strength limitlessly. Of course, it was only the accumulation of energy and not a breakthrough in cultivation realm. In truth, it was precisely because using heavenly treasures to raise one's strength could only accomplish a quantitative change, and not a qualitative change, that Jun Moxie did not use such a method. But this time, it was unknown whether it was intentional or not. But in the process of transferring this vast amount of energy, Miao Qingcheng's 10,000 years of cultivation comprehension was actually mixed in. This was something that would cause everyone's eyes to turn red with envy. Although the comprehension of xianqi cultivation could not be fully applied to the art of unlocking heaven's fortune, all the arts in the world had to converge into the sea. Jun Mo Xie naturally understood the principle of reaching the same goal through different means. Chapter 10:20. With these 10,000 years of comprehension from Miao Qing Cheng, Jun Moxie will be able to save a lot of time and effort on his own. As long as he compared it with the art of unlocking heaven's fortune, he would be able to walk his own path. That was a cultivation technique that belonged to Jun Moxie alone. In fact, this cultivation technique might even surpass the limits of the art of unlocking heaven's fortune. Of course, that would have to wait until he reached the 9th level of the art of unlocking heaven's fortune. But with this discovery, Jun Moxie could feel his little heart thumping nonstop. This was definitely a gift that was so valuable that it was immeasurable compared to the measly amount of energy that Jun Moxie had expended to heal his soul. It was completely incomparable. If that portion of energy from the Tree of Life was like the candlelight in a dark room, then Miao Qing Cheng's feedback was like the bright moon in the 9 heavens or the blazing sun in the sky. After such a long period of searching, he had only managed to form a small outline of the path to heaven. But this time, Miao Qing Cheng had laid down the most solid foundation for his path to heaven. From the start to the end, Miao Qing Cheng did not say why he wanted to do this. In fact, he did not even mention it. And Jun Moxie did not ask either. But Da Xiao remembered this in his heart. This favor, he really owed Miao Qing Cheng too much. If he had the ability in the future, he would definitely come here to help Miao Qing Cheng and free himself from the threat of Tian Fa. Perhaps only then would he be able to balance his heart a little. Although Miao Qing Cheng did not make such a request, Jun Moxie had already made such a promise in his heart. When they returned to the main hall, Miao Qing Yun was the first to speak. Junyi, you see, Xiao Miao's worries are clear to you now. If you don't have any objections on your side, how about we settle the matter between the two of you first? Even if you're not in a hurry to get married, you can hold an engagement ceremony first. By right, Mo Junyi, as a junior, did not have any relatives or elders, so he could directly look for his master, Chao Guofeng, to discuss this matter. However, he vaguely heard that this Mo Junyi had a wife. If Mo Junyi had not met the great ancestor, it would not be a problem even if he had a few more wives. He could just forcefully suppress them and divorce all of them. Miao Xiao Miao could only be the legal wife, and the only wife. But now, even the ancestor has taken this kid in a new light and even warned me not to rashly offend him. So everything is different, especially since this matter involved an affair within the boudoir. It wasn't something that could be solved just by looking for Chao Guofeng. Therefore, only Mo Junyi himself could give an answer. Jun Moxie was taken aback for a moment before he said thoughtfully, "What do you mean?" "It's not that this old man is boasting, but my family Xiao Miao, be it in terms of talent, character, or looks, she is more than worthy of you. Do you agree on this point?" Miao Jingyan stroked his beard and smiled lightly. "That's natural. Miss Miao is intelligent and has a pure heart, like a fairy that has turned into a human. She is more than worthy of the most outstanding man in this world." Jun Moxie did not hide his admiration for Miao Xiao Miao at all. Her. I'm very comforted that you can say that. But I wonder about that wife of yours. This old man doesn't know if the two of you are officially married. Let's just call her that for now." Miao Jingyan chuckled, but a glint flashed in his eyes. "That girl, how does she compare to Xiao Miao?" Jun Moxie paused for a moment, as if he was considering his words. Finally, he said decisively, "Miss Miao is indeed a heavenly beauty, rare in this world. But my wife is a peerless beauty, unparalleled and unmatched. Miss Miao is indeed beautiful, but she is only a beauty of the mortal world. But my wife is unparalleled in the mortal world, an immortal descending from the heavens. Let me say something that I'm not afraid of offending you. If Miss Miao is compared to my wife, even if she does not pale in comparison, there is still a considerable gap." As Jun Moxie spoke, The image of Mei Shuyan seemed to appear before his eyes. He could not help but feel an inexplicable warmth in his heart. A satisfied smile also appeared on his face. Miao Jingyun's lips twitched slightly, and the muscles at the corners of his eyes twitched. In his opinion, since he'd already said that, this brat Mo Jun, you should at least say a few humble words. Besides, old Miao did not believe that there was any girl in this world that could be more perfect than his Miao Xiao Miao. And such a perfect girl was coincidentally this brat's wife. As long as Mo Jun, he opened his mouth to be humble, he prepared countless follow-up words to force him into a corner. But who would have thought that this fellow would actually open his mouth and say such a thing? Not only was he not humble, he even praised his own wife to the heavens. Just what kind of person was this, ah? In this instant, Miao Jingyun suddenly had the urge to slap this despicable brat to death, so Jun Moxie said unhurriedly, "If Lord Manor Lord wishes to persuade me to stop with my wife and remarry, there's no need to speak anymore. As for the engagement ceremony, I'm afraid it'll have to be postponed." After saying that, Jun Moxie smiled lightly and raised his head to look at Miao Jingyun. The look in his eyes clearly told him, what you're thinking of is definitely not going to work. Everything will have to go according to this young master's will. Brat Mo, according to your words, you're planning to let this old man's granddaughter, the little princess of the Misty Mansion, become your concubine? Is that what you mean? Miao Jingyun looked at him darkly, his eyes blazing with rage. Manor Lord's words are too serious. I did not say that. Jun Moxie shrugged his shoulders and said, for things to develop to such a state, it's truly unexpected. To be honest, I didn't expect things to develop to such a state. In truth, the reason why I rejected it in the morning was because of this matter. I didn't want to hurt Miss Meow, and I didn't want to mistreat my wife. That's why I made such a decision. But I didn't expect that Miss Meow would almost die because of this matter, so I had no choice but to change my mind. I simply couldn't bear to see such a beautiful and intelligent girl die because she liked me. Furthermore, my feelings for Miss Meow are indeed very good. It's precisely because of this that I came over in the afternoon. Jun Moxie said seriously. But I didn't come for beauty, and it's not for... He looked deeply at Miao Jingyun. The power of the Misty Mansion. Then what do you say we should do? You should at least give us a plan, right? Miao Jingyun was so angry that his white beard stood straight up. But there was nothing he could do. Facing this fellow, who was unmoved by persuasion and had a powerful backing, especially when his granddaughter had already decided that she wouldn't marry anyone else. Just looking at his granddaughter being completely devoured by the other party, Miao Jingyun felt a sense of helplessness. The only promise I can give is that in my family, there is no distinction between big and small. Jun Moxie shrugged his shoulders and said, whether it's the daughter of a big family or the daughter of a humble family, even if it's a prostitute, as long as I approve of her and she enters my family, everyone's status will be the same. In terms of age, we can call each other sisters, but in terms of status, there is no distinction between seniority and inferiority. Miao Jingyun's mouth opened wide in shock. After a long time, he finally said in a trembling voice, no distinction between big and small. Call each other sisters by age. I mean, you have more than one or two wives? This was not shock, but pure anger. Isn't it normal for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines? Senior, is there need to make such a big fuss out of nothing? Jun Moxie finally said these words that every man dreamed of saying, and he couldn't help but feel extremely satisfied in his heart. Although these words were just to pave the way for him in the future, they were not words that went against his heart. Miao Jingyun was instantly enraged. This was the truth, and it was also the dream of every man. But to say such words in front of his woman's grandfather, it's normal for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. Jun Daxiao was very likely the first person in history. He was simply too shameless. You brat, are simply shameless to the extreme. Old Master Miao Jingyun was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Pointing a trembling finger at Jun Moxie, he gritted his teeth and snarled. In your dreams, what you think is your business. Jun Moxie shook his head lightly. May I ask, Manor Lord, how many wives and concubines do you have? Miao Jingyun was completely dumbfounded and speechless. Miao Jingyun had quite a number of wives and concubines. In these 500 years, he'd been a groom for at least 70 to 80 times. But just the exchange of benefits between the upper echelons of the Misty Mansion and the number of political marriages. So Manor Lord Miao didn't know how to reply to this question. How can you be compared to Manor Lord? Miao Dao Lingling looked at Jun Moxie and chided. Why can't we be compared? Jun Moxie asked curiously. We're all men. What words can't be said? I'm only saying this because I'm honest. Honest? But your honesty, isn't it a little too straightforward? Miao Jingyun finally managed to catch his breath. This is something that can't be helped. In the Xin continent that this junior came from, it can be said to be filled with endless wars and killings. Every year, the number of soldiers that die on the battlefield exceeds tens of millions, and the majority of these people are naturally men. In other words, every year there will be countless orphans and widows, as well as many young girls of suitable age. As time goes by, the ratio of men to women in this world is already extremely out of balance. This is determined by the basic situation of the entire continent, and it's not something that I can change alone. Under such circumstances, as long as a man is slightly outstanding, there will be many young girls adoring him. Men with strength will always be surrounded by countless beauties. This is the trend of the world. Could it be that you're going to deny this point? Jun Moxie did not feel embarrassed at all. Could it be that you'd rather let these girls die in their chambers of old age than let them pursue their own happiness? But as the little princess of the Misty Mansion, how can Miao Miao's status be comparable to that of other girls? Miao Jingyun snorted coldly. I've already said it earlier, the authority of the Misty Mansion is completely meaningless to me. If you insist on making me make a choice, then I can only say a single word of apology. Jun Moxie refused to budge. He could already tell that it was impossible to reason with this old man, so he might as well cut the Gordian knot. Chapter 10:21. Looking at this brat's lazy appearance, Miao Jingyun was so angry that his ears were ringing. He suddenly stomped his feet and pointed at the door, roaring angrily. You brat, hurry and scram out for me. You're really angering this old man to death. Since that's the case, this junior will take his leave. Jun Moxie turned and fled. Seeing Jun Moxie's figure disappear from the door, Miao Jingyun's chest was still heaving up and down. After a long while, he suddenly roared and stomped his feet. With a loud boom, a huge hole appeared in the ground. A bottomless hole. At the side, Miao Dao and Miao Jian looked at each other and whispered to each other. That brat really left? How could it be fake? He really left just like that. Didn't you see it for yourself? He really dared to leave just like that. In the face of such repeated questions, Miao Jian tactfully chose to remain silent. The truth was already laid out in front of you. What's the point of asking? Even if you're not tired, this daddy is, that night, the upper echelons of the Miao family gathered together to discuss this matter in secret. From the looks of it, Miao Xiao Miao's father, Miao Huanyu, seemed to have said something that caused Miao Xiao Miao's father, Miao Huanyu, to flip the table and leave in a rage. Jun Moxie's journey back to his residence was exceptionally calm. Actually, if he had a choice, Da Xiao would definitely not say such things. Looking at the current situation, it was impossible for him to give up on Miao Xiao Miao. But if he were to give up on others, that was even more impossible. On this matter, it was even more serious than Jun Moxie's principles. There was no way he could retreat. If there's really no other way, this daddy will just put Miao Xiao Miao into the Hongjun Pagoda and leave. Let's see where you can find her. That old fellow actually wants me to stop marrying and remarry? But this brother is not Shinshimi. This kind of thinking should not even appear in his head. Early the next morning, just as the sun was rising, Jun Moxie was chased out of his warm bed. Today was Manor Head Miao's 500th birthday. Before the sun had even risen, the Miao family had already sent someone to invite young Master Amo to the banquet. However, the 4 people who came were sent by Miao, Xiao Miao's father. Miao Huanyu was afraid that Jun Moxie would hold a grudge against his father because of what he had said yesterday. It seemed like he couldn't do anything about the old man, but if that brat also threw a tantrum and refused to come, then what would he do if something happened to his daughter? Fortunately, Jun Moxie didn't mind. It was as if yesterday's incident didn't happen at all. He simply washed up and dressed up before going to Miao residence. As for Chao Guofeng and the others, due to their status, they had to wait until noon before going over to congratulate the Miao family and eat and drink. Even in the Misty Mansion, an expert like the Holy Emperor was still a person of great status, so he naturally had his own reservations. There was one more thing that had to be said. Yesterday's incident really made old Chao and the other brothers feel proud and elated. The encounter of great prodigy Mo and his group made old Chao and the others, who were originally on tenterhooks, feel completely relieved. Look at our disciple. Even the manor head can't do anything to him. It's too embarrassing. Although it was only dawn, the Miao residence was already decorated with lanterns and colored banners, and it was extremely lively. When Jun Moxie arrived, he only sat in the side hall and drank tea for a while, but he already felt uncomfortable all over. This was because the house was filled with the women of the Miao family. There were hundreds of them, and it was as if they wanted to investigate 8 generations of his ancestors. Each of them asked one question or several questions, and all of them spoke at once. This evil monarch, who had always been eloquent, was completely overwhelmed. In the end, he had to use his urine escape to sneak out. Only then did he realize that his clothes were all wet. Dealing with this group of women was much more tiring than fighting a big battle. When the sun was high up in the sky, the guests from all over the world finally arrived one after another. It could be said that there was an endless stream of guests. The Miao residence, which was originally quite lively, now became even more lively. At this time, Miao Xiao Miao, who was dressed up, finally appeared in front of Jun Moxie. When she first saw Da Xiao, Xiao Miao's face suddenly turned red. Obviously, she thought of this enemy's frivolous behavior towards her yesterday. Miao Xiao Miao was a peerless beauty in the first place. Now that she was dressed up, she looked even more graceful and alluring. Even young Master Jun, who had lived through 2 lifetimes and had seen all the beauties in the world, could not help but fall into a daze. Although her face was covered by a light veil, her graceful figure was enough to enchant every man's heart and soul. Jun, you came early. Miao Xiao Miao came to Jun Moxie and asked shyly. She only said a sentence, but the blush had already reached her neck. Well, I came a little early. Jun Moxie touched his nose. Looking up at the sky, it was almost noon. My poor brother had been interrogated by that group of women for several hours. Jun, yesterday's matter. I already know about it. Miao Xiao Miao suddenly raised her head bravely and looked at Jun Moxie with her clear eyes filled with deep affection. What do you know? Is it about the healing, or I know about Grandpa's matter? Miao Xiao Miao lowered her swan-like soft neck and murmured like a mosquito. Jun, don't worry. I will be yours after all. Speaking till the end, it was already inaudible. If not for Da Xiao's profound xianqi, you might really not have heard it. However, the expression in the beautiful woman's eyes was full of determination. Jun Moxie sighed and said, "Don't worry." At this moment, he did not know what to say to comfort her, so he could only comfort her casually. However, Miao Xiao Miao seemed to be inspired by great promise. Her eyebrows and the corners of her eyes were instantly filled with extreme joy. She tilted her head slightly and peeked at Jun Moxie. Her eyes were filled with shyness and happiness, but there was also a deep sense of satisfaction. That gentle affection seemed to envelop his entire body. Younger sister Xiao Miao. At this moment, a surprise voice rang out and broke the ambiguous atmosphere between the two of them. A very handsome young man in white was walking over with 2 attendants. His face was full of surprise. Miao Xiao Miao slightly snorted, and her eyes revealed a look of displeasure. She didn't make any special movements, but she suddenly regained the noble bearing of a Tsinghua University student. It seemed that this girl would only appear to be abnormally obedient in front of June Moxie. When facing others, she was really not the slightest bit pretentious. That kind of frightening, ice-cold temperament was enough to freeze people's hearts. Younger sister Xiao Miao, I have come late. That young man carried a kind smile and walked towards the two of them. As if he did not see June Moxie, he walked straight towards Miao, Xiao Miao, and said, "Today is a joyous day." As the host, younger sister Xiao Miao must be tired, right? How about, this young brother brings you out to relieve your boredom tomorrow? Miao Xiao Miao lightly said, "Thank you, elder brother Chiu, for the trouble. Today is Xiao Miao's grandfather's 500th birthday. As the host, it is only right for me to worry about such things. As for Xiao Miao's whereabouts, I have my own plans. There is no need for elder brother Chiu to worry about it." Younger sister Xiao Miao, you are still so reserved and polite. We have been friends for a long time. There is no need for you to treat me as an outsider. May I know who this is? That elder brother Chiu seemed to not notice the coldness in Miao Xiao Miao's words. He was still full of joy, and even his eyes did not change. However, he turned to look at June Moxie's face. At first glance, his eyes were quite sharp. However, when he saw June Moxie's ordinary appearance, his vigilance was greatly reduced. "This is Mo Junyi." Brother Mo Miao, Xiao Miao, lightly said, "I believe elder brother Chiu has already heard of him. Junyi, let me introduce you. This is the outstanding talent of the Chiu family's younger generation, Chiu Peng." When she introduced Mo Junyi to Chiu Peng, she was talking to Chiu Peng with a cold tone. However, when she introduced Chiu Peng to Mo Junyi, she was talking to June Moxie with a gentle expression and a gentle tone. In addition, the difference in the tone of the conversation was even more obvious. When she addressed Chiu Peng, it was Chiu family's outstanding talent, elder brother Chiu. Her tone was extremely cold. However, when she addressed Mo Junyi, she directly called his name Junyi. Her tone was intimate, and there was even a sense of dependence. As long as one was not a fool, they would be able to hear and see the difference. What more this outstanding talent of the Chiu family? Chiu Peng stared at Miao Xiao Miao, then looked at June Moxie. His expression gradually turned ugly, but he still forced a smile and cupped his hands. So this brother is the person with the free and natural physique, Mo Junyi, who has the free and natural physique and crippled Gu Fei Yu of the Gu family. I am Chiu Peng of the Chiu family. Nice to meet you. Brother Chiu, nice to meet you. June Moxie replied indifferently. The more Chiu Peng thought about it, the more annoyed he felt. He only felt his anger rising. Sister Xiao Miao, this brother has a few words to say to you in private. Is it convenient for you? As he spoke, he looked at June Xiao and tactfully hurriedly left. Didn't you hear that we have something to say in private? Miao Xiao Miao said indifferently. There is nothing that cannot be said to others. If elder brother Chiu has something to say, you can say it here. Junyi is not an outsider. It's not a big deal. Junyi is not an outsider. These words were like the sharpest steel needle, piercing deeply into Chiu Peng's heart. It caused his handsome face to twitch violently, as if it was out of his control. Chiu Peng and Miao Xiao Miao could be considered childhood sweethearts. The two of them grew up together. Chiu Peng was slightly older than Miao Xiao Miao by 2 to 3 years and had admired Miao Xiao Miao for a long time. However, Miao Xiao Miao had always treated him coldly, but he did not mind it. He always thought that a chaste woman was afraid of a pestering man. As long as he put in some effort, Miao Xiao Miao would naturally be his woman. So he had never given up. Even if he had a strong enemy like Zhang Yushu, he had never been discouraged. Chapter 10:22. He suddenly raised his head and looked at June Moxie, his eyes revealing an indescribable hatred as he said in a low voice, Mo Junyi, what a free and natural physique. If you want to do evil in the misty mansion, this young master will not tolerate it. June Moxie furrowed his brows. What's wrong with this person? To actually speak so incoherently, it's obviously you who are jealous. When did this daddy do evil? Besides, if I really do evil with your level, do you think you're qualified to know? Someone like you actually has the face to fight with this daddy for a woman? Go back and cultivate for another 3 to 5,000 years. With regard to this kind of unreasonable jealousy, Jun Moxie had always felt that it was very boring. He was together with Guan Qinghan and Duga Xiaoi. There's also Mei Shuiyin and the others, all of whom were peerless beauties. But this kind of jealousy was something that he had never encountered before. In his eyes, this kind of behavior was simply the behavior of a child. Extremely boring. So this time, he didn't intend to pay attention to it. Qiu Peng. What do you mean by that? Could it be that you want to display your Qiu family's master dashao's might in my Miao mansion? Before Jun Moxie could speak, Miao Xiao Miao had already become enraged. Little sister Xiao Miao, you're inexperienced and don't know the dangers of the world, the sinister nature of the human heart. This brother Mo has just arrived at the Misty Mansion not long ago. Who knows what kind of person he is, and what motives he has for sneaking into Misty Mansion. You must not be deceived by him. Qiu Peng's handsome face had a hint of malice as he said, Little sister Xiao Miao, you must be careful. What does it have to do with you whether I'm experienced or not? Also, brother Qiu, please don't keep saying the words little sister Xiao Miao. Although we're family friends, brother Qiu can just call me little sister. Miao Xiao Miao was so angry that her whole body was trembling. She almost cursed it out loud. How could she say anything nice to Qiu Peng? This despicable fellow actually dares to slander my Junyi so brazenly. I don't even know how much I want him to lie to me. Unfortunately, he's not even willing to lie to me. If today wasn't her grandfather's birthday, Miao Xiao Miao might not have been able to hold back and beat him up. How infuriating. Jun Moxie chuckled. He tilted his head and looked at Qiu Peng with interest. Young Master Qiu, are you implying that the Qiu family is investigating me? Qiu Peng froze when he heard that. Then he forced a cold smile and said, as the saying goes, true gold fears no fire. If you didn't do anything wrong, why would you be afraid of an investigation? He had never imagined that this person's intelligence would be so high. With just a sentence from him, he was able to deduce that his family was investigating him. But now that things had come to this, he could no longer avoid it. Little sister Xiao Miao, even if you have to go over during this period of time, it won't be too late to talk about it after the investigation is done. Get lost right now. I don't want to see you again. I don't want to hear you speak. I don't want to see the results of your Qiu family's investigation either. Also, are you deaf? You're not allowed to call me little sister Xiao Miao. Miao Xiao Miao was obviously furious as she stomped her feet and shouted, Mo Junyi, if you dare to do anything dirty to my little sister Xiao Miao, be careful of your life. Hearing Miao Xiao Miao's order to chase him away, Qiu Peng's expression changed again. He vented his anger on this free and natural physique person even more fiercely. Glaring at Jun Moxie, he spat out each word clearly. After he finished speaking, he turned around to leave. My life. Jun Moxie muttered softly, a murderous glint flashing past his eyes. Jun Moxie had never been jealous, but he had one good point. He knew how to kill. This kid's threat caused Jun Deshao's heart to boil with killing intent. At this moment, another 4 to 5 youths walked over, chatting and laughing. One of them said, so little sister Xiao Miao and brother Qiu are here as expected. Looks like we didn't find the wrong place. Qiu Peng Lingling watched them walk past. Suddenly, he rolled his eyes and laughed bitterly. What are the few of you still doing here? Little sister Xiao Miao's heart already belongs to someone else. Even if you guys came here, it's all in vain. Taking another 10,000 steps back, even if we let you guys compete fairly, do you think you guys can win against the free and natural physique young Master Mo Junyi of the Misty Mansion? When these former love rivals gathered together, they had always been fighting openly and covertly, not giving way to each other. In the past, whenever Qiu Peng saw them, he would always have a battle of words. But today, the situation was very different. There was no other reason. They already had a common enemy, an extremely powerful opponent. Mo Junyi, the legendary free and natural physique possessor. the promising young talent of the Misty Mansion. The 4 to 5 youths were stunned when they heard that. Their eyes were as cold as lightning as they looked at June Moxie, who was standing beside Meow Xiao Meow. One of them opened his mouth slowly and asked, "Little sister Xiao Meow." This is Meow Xiao Meow was furious in her heart. But since the situation was so formal, she had no choice but to introduce herself again. When she heard Qiu Peng's malicious provocation, Meow Xiao Meow was already bursting with anger. Was I really so naive in the past? I didn't realize that this brother Qiu was actually so repulsive. Zhang Qingfeng was the same, and so was Qiu Peng. Jun Moxie looked at Qiu Peng. He had already completely eliminated this person from the list of enemies. Such a breadth of mind. He didn't even have the intention to play around with him. He was really too low level. He was not worth a fight. At most, he would just kill him and be done with it. So you're the free and natural physique possessor whose name shook the Misty Mansion previously, Brother Mo, Junie? That youth smiled. I am Li Xingyu from the Li family. I am Meng Xianru from the Meng family. I am Zhang Qishu from the Zhang family. I am Yun Xiao from the Yun family. The 4 of them introduced themselves and bowed at the same time. At the same time, Li Xingyu laughed and said, "Looks like we have another strong opponent, ah. Brother Mo, you've really caused trouble for us brothers this time." Jun Moxie's eyes flashed. He smiled and said, "How can that be? Brother Li's words are wrong. I'm not your opponent. Your opponent has always been Miss Meow alone. All the choices are in her hands. This matter doesn't seem to have anything to do with me." Ha! Brother Mo's words make a lot of sense. You are right. Li Xingyu clapped his hands and laughed. Although Brother Mo's words have the intention of clearing himself of suspicion, it is still the truth. We have become a joke to Miss Meow by arguing for nothing. Brother Mo's words have enlightened us, the clowns in the game. The others laughed as well. Jun Moxie was secretly amazed. These people looked like they were quite broad-minded. At least they were shrewd. They were not the kind of trash that only knew how to fight for a woman's favor. All of you can just appreciate each other. When little sister Xiao Meow has someone to rely on, all of you won't be able to cry even if you want to. Qiu Peng laughed coldly. He had always been proud of his good looks and good looks. He was much better than the others, and the more he thought of himself as a cut above them, the more he disliked the others. At this moment, seeing that nothing was going according to his plan, he couldn't help but add another sentence. Qiu Peng, whoever little sister Xiao Meow likes, that's her own business. We have no right to interfere. We have no right to interfere. Meng Xianru furrowed his brows and said, "Even if she doesn't choose one of us, as long as little sister Xiao Meow really likes him, this Meng can only wish them a happy ending. What's the point of such a petty person like you provoking us again and again? Do you want us to fight to the death with each other? To let little sister Xiao Meow suffer and be heartbroken? Is that what you want? You've tried to sow discord between us and Brother Mo time and time again. What are your intentions?" These people were all people who had ambitions towards Meow Xiao Meow. But they had all been warned by their clans not to provoke that free and natural physique person. Thus, they didn't dare to be impudent and even tried to befriend him. But they didn't have the slightest bit of courtesy towards Qiu Peng. Instead, they shifted all their anger and indignation onto Qiu Peng. Actually, before Qiu Peng came, the elders of the clan had also warned him. But when he saw how close Meow Xiao Meow and Jun Moxie were, he was so envious that he lost his mind and disregarded everything to come out and mess things up. If we don't get along, even half a sentence is too much. This young master doesn't want to argue with you. Today is Manor Lord Meow's 500th birthday. May I ask young Master Mo, what kind of precious gift have you brought for this birthday celebration? Qiu Peng sneered coldly. According to their investigations, Mo Jun was just a brat before he came to the Misty Mansion. He didn't have any family background at all. What kind of decent gift could he bring out? The others all cursed Qiu Peng for being shameless in their hearts. If he was just relying on himself, could he bring out a decent gift? Why? Could it be that young Master Qiu is going to bring out a gift on my behalf? Jun Moxie didn't even lift his eyelids as he spoke calmly. Ha! This young master has always been a thrifty person. Where would I find so much money to bring out a gift for someone unrelated to me? Chiu Peng laughed loudly and said, "We'll meet again at the banquet later." At that time, in front of all the elders, this young master would like to see what kind of precious gift the legendary free and natural physique owner of the Misty Mansion can bring out. Saying that, Chiu Peng left while laughing maniacally. "It's really disgusting." Yin Xiao spat out a mouthful of saliva and said with disgust, "The Chiu family has always been strict. How could they have produced such a person? How disgusting." Li Xingyu cautiously said, "Everyone, please don't be careless. I heard that today is not only Manorhead Meow's birthday, but Manorhead is also going to choose an ideal husband for Miss Xiao Meow from the younger generation of the Misty Mansion. I'm afraid there's a reason why Chiu Peng lost his composure today. But if we're going to compete in gifts, it's too childish and childish." Everyone present knew about this matter, and Li Xingyu's words were obviously a reminder to Jun Moxie. This matter had already been spread since last year. That was why there were so many people from the younger generation present today. They were all looking forward to ascending to the heavens in a single step. If they could become Miao Xiao Miao's husband, then they would truly be able to obtain both wealth and power. But when Li Xingyu and the rest saw how intimate Jun Moxie and Miao Xiao Miao were today, they were obviously prepared to give up. This sentence was just a simple reminder, and it was also a deliberate attempt to curry favor. Miao Xiao Miao smiled faintly and looked at Jun Moxie with boundless tenderness. She said lightly, "Xiao Miao thanks Brother Li for your reminder on behalf of Junyi." The meaning behind this sentence was that she had already placed herself in the position of Mo Junye's wife. It was as if she was a gentle and considerate wife who was currently thanking a friend for his help on behalf of her husband. Chapter 10:23. The four of them sighed at the same time, feeling a wave of sadness. Miao Xiao Miao's current attitude had already made them feel it clearly. This birthday banquet might not only be a birthday banquet, but also a son-in-law selection banquet. Most likely, it would also be an engagement banquet, because Miao Xiao Miao and this Mo Junye's expressions did not show the slightest bit of nervousness, as if they did not take this matter to heart at all. This could only mean one thing. The matter between these two people had already obtained the approval of the Miao family's higher-ups. Li Xingyu had said these words, firstly to remind them, secondly to curry favor with them, and lastly to probe them. But now the four of them could be considered to have truly given up. "Good lad, you're really something." Li Xingyu smiled and actually punched Jun Moxie's shoulder fiercely, laughing. "You're really... You motherf asterisk cur. Our Misty Mansion's #1 flower has actually been plucked by an outsider like you. Today, I'm going to drink you under the table, you brat. Otherwise, how can we vent our anger?" Meng Xianru and the rest cheered loudly. Since they could not defeat him in the field of love, and the chances of defeating him in the field of Xian cultivation were also very slim, then they could only kill him in the field of wine. This could also be considered as finding a balance. "I'm happy to accompany you." Jun Moxie smiled. "However, if you brothers crawl under the table first, then don't blame me for not being righteous. If I show mercy, then I'll be the one to suffer." "With just you?" The few youths laughed together, but their expressions were filled with complacency and self-confidence. They were people who had experienced the test of alcohol, and all of them possessed extraordinary cultivation. They were confident in their ability to drink. This newcomer, who was only at the Golden Xian realm, really did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. He actually had the delusion that he could get all of them drunk by himself. This was simply a lunatic's ravings. "Before we drink, we must first seal our Xian Qi." Zhang Qi Yun kindly reminded them, and instantly, the other three rolled their eyes in unison. Putting aside the fact that our Xian Qi is superior, even if we don't use our Xian Qi, with our alcohol tolerance and the fact that it's 4 against 1, it's impossible for us to lose. So what if the other party has the legendary free and natural physique? I've never heard that the free and natural physique is immune to alcohol. Just then, Happy birthday. I invite all the guests to come to Fu Shou Hall to offer their blessings and gifts, a loud voice called out. June Moxie almost laughed out loud. This Mannerhead Meow is really different from the rest. To think that they would openly ask for a birthday gift now. This was too much. Apart from the Meow clan, the other 7 clans, as well as those clans and forces with relatively high status, would probably lose a great deal of money today. At this moment, Fortune Longevity Hall was in an uproar. It could be said that all the higher-ups of the Misty Mansion were present at the mansion head's birthday banquet. With just a glance, Jun Dashao was already speechless. Among them, there were at least 40 to 50 experts who were above the holy venerable level. Many hidden experts were also present in the hall. As for experts above the holy emperor level, there were also over 100 of them. Even those at the level of Chao Guofeng and Bai Qifeng would not be able to stand out in a situation like this. Such a lineup could be said to be huge. Everyone was beaming with joy, their faces beaming with happiness. The Zhan clan's patriarch, Zhan Wuyun, was also present. The smile on his face was even more natural and amiable. From the looks of it, he seemed even happier than if it was his own birthday. Miao Jingyun sat high up in the main seat, dressed in a bright red robe. There was a large show character embroidered on his chest, as if he was afraid that others wouldn't know that he was the 500-year-old longevity god. Actually, even without the show character, he was the only one in the entire hall dressed in red, as if he was a certain bag. Although this kind of atmosphere was a little vulgar, it made it even more lively. It also made June Moxie feel the strong familial love contained within. The unity of the upper echelons of the Misty Mansion was indeed something that others envied. In the Xian continent, this was an extremely rare thing. As the MC spoke in a loud voice, everyone stepped forward in succession to offer their well-prepared birthday gifts. The atmosphere became even more joyous. As the birthday gifts were unveiled one after another, the cheers from the crowd grew louder and louder. It was as if this birthday banquet was a day of competition. Miao Jingyun sat in the middle seat, laughing heartily as he spoke softly with a few of his old brothers, as if they were discussing something. Qiu Chengyun of the Qiu clan has come to congratulate Lord Manor Lord on his birthday, and to present his birthday gift, a 1,000-year longevity pine. May Boss live a long life like a pine tree, evergreen for all eternity. Following a loud congratulatory voice, an old man with a thin face walked up. Behind him was Qiu Peng, who was respectfully holding a miniature pine tree that was no more than a foot tall and as thick as a teacup. It could even be said to be oddly shaped. The body of that miniature pine tree was an extremely exquisite white jade flower pot. Although the pine tree was small, it was luxuriant and full of leaves, looking like a thriving flower pot. The crown of the tree was pink and green, and all the pine needles were pointing outwards, not a single one pointing upwards. Furthermore, the branches on the tree were tall and straight, mottled and mottled. Layers of cracked bark stuck firmly to the tree trunk. With a single look, one could tell that although this pine tree was small, its age was definitely not short. 1,000-year longevity pine? Everyone's eyes lit up when they heard these words and looked carefully at the small pine tree. Everyone had seen longevity pine trees many times, and there was nothing special about them. Not to mention a 1,000-year longevity pine, even a 10,000-year longevity pine was not uncommon. But this was the first time they had seen a longevity pine tree that had grown for 1,000 years without being cut down or pruned. It was truly strange. The growth of a tree, whether it was thick or tall, had its own laws. If a pine tree had truly grown for 1,000 years, it would be impossible for it to have such a shape. There must be a reason that no one knew about. But no matter what, this longevity pine tree had indeed stolen the limelight of all the birthday gifts today. For a moment, everyone was gathered around this longevity pine tree, clicking their tongues in wonder. Everyone present was a master of the present age, and with a casual sweep of their divine sense, they were able to see through the essence of this pine tree. It was undoubtedly a longevity pine tree that had experienced the baptism of 1,000 years. Someone laughed. "Old Chio, you stinky loach. Where did you get such a good thing from? Today's limelight has been stolen by you old brat. Chiao Chungyun said proudly. This is fate. Come to think of it, this old man still doesn't understand what's going on with this tree. This spring, this old man was in high spirits and went out to play. Suddenly, there was a heavy rain, and I found a cave to shelter from the rain. Then I felt a 10,000 gene stone under my feet move on its own. In a moment of curiosity, I opened it to take a look. Who would have thought that there were two stone slabs sandwiched between them, and in the middle of the two slabs was a small round hole with this pine tree growing in the middle. This old man dug it out and planted it in a flower pot. I didn't think it would come in handy today. He smiled proudly and twirled his beard. Although this item isn't anything valuable, it can still be considered a rare item. Thus, this old man brought it here as a birthday gift for the manor lord, hoping for a good omen. Everyone surrounded Chiao Chungyun and looked at the pine tree, as though it was a rare item worth hoarding. Just as Chiao Chungyun was about to leave after enjoying the limelight, he heard his grandson, Chiao Peng, suddenly say loudly, "Today, the younger generation of the Misty Mansion can be said to have gathered here to offer our blessings to the manor lord. This little one has heard that the legendary free and natural physique, Mo Junyi, is also here. But I wonder what kind of precious gift Brother Mo has prepared for the manor lord this time. This junior would like to broaden his horizons." As these words were said, not only was everyone in the hall shocked, Chao Guofeng and the rest had ashen expressions on their faces. Even Chiao Peng's grandfather, Chiao Chungyun, had a look of shock on his face. No matter what, he would never have thought that his grandson would actually shout out in such a manner in such an occasion. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that this was obviously directed at the great prodigy Mo Junyi. But how had Mo Junyi offended his grandson? But no matter what, they couldn't go against him now, right? Especially in an occasion like this, where all the upper echelons of the Misty Mansion were present. No matter what, their Chiao family was in the wrong today. Besides, that free and natural physique, was it easy to provoke? Even if they could suppress him today, what about in the future? In the future, this kid would definitely be an influential figure in the Misty Mansion. Offending him today would definitely create a huge enmity for the Chiao family. In that instant, Chiao Chungyun's anger rose in his heart, and he opened his palm, wanting to give this little brat a tight slap. But unexpectedly, as soon as Chiao Peng finished his sentence, the Misty Mansion manor Lord Miao Jingyun laughed loudly. Not bad, not bad. This old man also wants to see what kind of surprise this unparalleled free and natural physique prodigy has prepared for this old man. The moment these words came out, everyone couldn't help but rub their eyes and ears. Was this really what the manor lord would say? Chiao Peng, on the other hand, was overjoyed in his heart. He wasn't a good-for-nothing person, and he was quite calculative. Just now, he was just burning with jealousy and couldn't control himself, which was why he blurted out those words. It wasn't that he didn't regret it in his heart, but now that the birthday boy, old Master Miao, had said such a sentence, his words just now had become good words to deal with this old man's intentions. He couldn't help but feel extremely pleased with himself. As he said that, Miao Jingyun's eyes narrowed slightly as he thought to himself, "Brat, I'll let you be stubborn. I'll let you be arrogant. Today, this old man will definitely embarrass you. Let's see how you're going to get off this stage. If I don't teach you a lesson, how can the anger in my heart be appeased? Today, I'll let you know that I have 3 eyes. Grandfather, how would you do this?" Miao shouted angrily. "You clearly know." Just as she said this, she was interrupted by June Moxie. Originally, June Moxie had wanted to make use of today's birthday celebration to give Miao Jing a surprise. It could also be considered as a favor to Miao Qing Cheng and a gift to the Misty Mansion. Within his Hongjun Pagoda, there were countless rare and precious treasures. Anything he took out was enough to cause everyone present to be dumbfounded. As for the birthday gift, it was naturally not a problem. Chapter 10:24. Not looking at the monk's face, but looking at the Buddha's face, he had already swindled the other party's granddaughter into his hands. What birthday gift was there to be concerned about? Sending a gift was to return a favor to Miao Ching Chung, as well as to give face to his woman. He would not bother with this shameless old man in front of him. Jun Moxie made up his mind and did not hesitate at all. Taking a step forward, he was about to speak when an old man by the side suddenly stepped forward. Unexpectedly, an old man at the side stepped out first. It was the Gu family's patriarch, Gu Yunyang. This old man smiled and said, "Manor Lord's birthday is truly worthy of celebration. But this little brother has another joyous matter that I wish to inquire about. Last year, I heard Manor Lord mention that this year's birthday there will be a double joyous event. Today, from a young generation of the misty, illusory manor, we will be choosing a suitable husband for Xiao Miao. I wonder how Manor Lord intends to choose." As he said that, Gu Yunyang's old face twitched, and an extremely strange smile appeared on his face. At the same time, the expressions on the faces of those old fellows who had come earlier also turned strange. These old fellows were all experienced and crafty. How could they not see the situation before them clearly? Just now, Miao Xiao Miao's intentional protection of the Misty Mansion had already shown many problems. Although being able to form a marriage alliance with the Miao family would be of great help to their family's foundations, it might not be worth it if they ended up offending the young talents of the Misty Mansion. Furthermore, they might not even be able to form a marriage alliance with the Miao family. If they spoke rashly, they might end up in a disadvantageous position. Miao Jingyan squinted his eyes and laughed uproariously. Fellow Nian brothers and juniors, as everyone knows, this old man had indeed said those words last year. A man's words must be kept. If a man does not keep his words, how can he stand tall in this world? This old man will naturally not go back on his words. And then let's do it like this. Today, of the 8 great families, other than the main Miao family, 7 of them have all arrived. There are also some other young talents of the Misty Mansion. The only pity is that the one from the Zhan family did not come. Zhan Wuyun's face twitched. The 2 most promising juniors of the Zhan family had already turned into 2 corpses. As for the others, they were all good-for-nothings. If he came, he would only be adding to the joke. What was the point of coming? Miao Jingyun continued. So, from these people, I'll choose an ideal husband for my precious granddaughter. At this point, there was a commotion in the hall. Many young prodigies' eyes lit up, and their eagerness was evident on their faces. Only Meng Xianru, Li Xingyue, and the others smiled bitterly at each other. "Old master, go ahead and do whatever you want. Your granddaughter has already been chosen a long time ago. Today is just a formality at best to fulfill what you said that day, and that's it. It seems that we are destined to accompany the crown prince in his studies. Everyone has already presented their gifts. Now these gifts have all been gathered and placed together. After this young master Mo presents his gift, this old man and Xiao Miao will personally choose. Whoever's gift satisfies us will be our Miao family's son-in-law." Miao Jingyun smiled faintly and pointed to a large table at the side. Indeed, it was filled with gifts, and there were at least a few hundred of them. The moment these words came out, the entire hall burst into an uproar, because there were simply too many old fellows in the misty, illusory manor, and they all lived too long. They basically had to hold a birthday celebration every year. The various families only cared about their reputation, and most of them just wanted to use this opportunity to gather and eat. How many of them would really spend their hard-earned capital to send some precious birthday gifts? Because this was already an unwritten convention. Although Miao Jingyun was the manor lord, and it was his 500th birthday this year, so he should be treated with more importance. But compared to the birthday banquets of some high-ranking officials and nobles in the mortal world, even though the people attending were of a much higher level, the value of the gifts were also far inferior. Which of these old fellows didn't have over 1,000 birthdays in their lifetime? A mere 500th birthday, even if it was a birthday celebration, what did it count for? If not for the fact that the host of today's birthday was Miao Jingyun, the manor lord of the Misty Mansion, how could there be such a grand celebration? Many youngsters stared fixedly at the gifts that their families had sent out, and they even had thoughts of rebelling. My dear ancestors, The gifts that our families have sent out are a little too meager. No, it's simply too shabby. Just this little bit of trash. How can it allow me to win the heart of a beauty? As the saying goes, the best steel should be used on the blade's edge. Why didn't I spend more this time? Such a great opportunity has been wasted. It was even to the extent that many of them stomped their feet and pounded their chests with extreme regret. Li Xingyu looked at Jun Moxie, who was standing together with Miao, Xiao Miao. Seeing that the two of them had a calm expression on their faces, as if they were not affected at all, she could only laugh bitterly in her heart. Zhang Qiyun, Meng Xianru, and the others exchanged a look, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. This move of this manor lord was truly too good, but was a little too despicable, right? Your birthday gift is actually for you and your granddaughter to choose together, and choose the one that you like the most? Is there even a need to say the result? I believe that no matter what this great prodigy Mo Junyi gives out, even if it's a pile of shit, your granddaughter will definitely cheer loudly. What's the point of comparing? What do you like? Jun Moxie rubbed his nose helplessly. Looks like this old fellow is determined to force this young master into a corner today. Even if that last Xiao Miao is willing to speak up for me, this old fellow will not let me off so easily. This F*** thing is clearly a collusion between those old fogies, and it's something that they've just colluded with. Seeing Gu Yunyang and the other patriarchs exchanging glances with Miao Jingyun, as well as the looks of delight on those old fogies' faces, Jun Moxie could tell with a single look. This was clearly a deliberate arrangement, and it was orchestrated by Miao Jingyun. Jun Da Xiao, I also want to see the gift you're giving grandfather. Actually, I don't need to see it to know that it's definitely the best, and I'll definitely like it. Miao Xiao Miao looked at Jun Da Xiao lovingly and said in a gentle voice. Young Miss Miao did not lower her voice when she said those words, and the two of them were standing right beside Li Xingyu and the rest. Naturally, those words were heard clearly by the group of youths. Li Xingyu and the rest could only sigh silently in their hearts. Was this still that cold and frosty Miao, Xiao Miao, young Miss Miao of the past? Those words were a little too blatant and a little too mushy. This grandfather-granddaughter pair, aren't they F*** toying with people? Young Miss Miao naturally has her own plans. Grandfather, didn't you want to play some tricks? It's not like I don't know how to do it. As long as I approve of Junye's gift, even if you say someone else's gift is better, it'll at most be a draw. In any case, Junyi will definitely not lose. Young Master Mo, it's your turn. Take out your gift and let everyone have a look. Qiupeng looked at Jun Moxie gleefully. This brat was blinded by greed and lust, and did not notice the subtle changes that had occurred just now. In his mind, when old Master Gu mentioned the matter of choosing a son-in-law, and old Master Miao did not deny it, and even took the initiative to make things difficult for great prodigy Mo, it was useless even if Miao Xiao Miao helped him. At the end of the day, this matter still depended on the wishes of the Miao family's elders. Based on the current situation, although the gifts on the table were all expensive items, his family's longevity pine was the most unique and the most thoughtful. From the looks of it, he had already firmly taken the lead today, and the beauty would not be able to escape his grasp. Speaking of gifts, I really didn't prepare anything in advance. Jun Mo Xie took a step forward, not even looking at Qiupeng's expression. He didn't even bother with him, treating him as if he was air. Smiling lightly, he said, "This junior's family is poor, and I don't have anything valuable on me. I really can't take out any decent gifts. How about this? When I was outside, I picked up 2 stones. They can barely be considered as rare items, so I've been carrying them with me all these years. Since today is Manor Lord's birthday celebration, then this junior shall gift these stones to Manor Lord as a birthday gift." What? Stones? Using stones as a congratulatory gift? Everyone didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What kind of rare thing was a stone? The entire mainland was filled with stones, and you randomly picked up a broken stone and used it as a birthday gift? That was way out of line. Even if Miao Xiao Miao wanted to be biased, he couldn't possibly lie through his teeth, right? Even if he lied through his teeth, He couldn't possibly turn a stone into gold, right? Miao Jingyun's face froze for an instant. This old man's plan was quite good. As long as this brat casually took out something, then he and his granddaughter would insist that it was something that this old man liked. Naturally, it would be the best gift, and they would be able to settle this matter. But to think that this brat actually said that he wanted to take out a stone as a congratulatory gift. What was this? Could it be that this brat wanted to go back on his words, purposely using such a method to evade? From the looks of it, things had really gotten out of hand. Playing with fire. At the side, Chao Wufeng and the rest were also extremely anxious. When they heard that old Miao seemed to be making things difficult for Da Xiao and asking for a gift, they immediately went to make preparations. Bai Chi Feng even directly plucked out a large gem from his sword, preparing to secretly give it to Da Xiao as a birthday gift. Although it might not be the best, it would at least be more pleasing to the eye. With young Miss Miao's help, getting past this hurdle should not be a big problem. But who would have thought that before anyone could make a move, this brat would actually openly say that he wanted to give a stone as a congratulatory gift? In that instant, Bai Chi Feng, who had just plucked out the gem from his sword, was so angry that his nose almost went crooked. Only Miao Xiao Miao by the side still had a calm expression on her face. Her eyes were filled with a smile that came from the bottom of her heart. She had already decided that even if Mo Junyi really took out a small stone that he had picked up from the roadside, she would hug it in her arms and insist that it was the best. Anything that satisfied her was naturally the best. It was easy to obtain a priceless treasure, but it was rare to obtain a gift from a lover. Even if it was just a strand of air, as long as he said that it was a gift from him, it would be the most precious. With Miao Xiao Miao's current status, would she still care about some rare treasures? Although a gem was precious, wasn't it still a stone in the end? Chapter 1025. Apart from being taken aback, everyone was even more bewildered. It was really just an ordinary stone. Originally, when they heard him say that the stone could barely be considered a rare item, everyone had thought that it would be a naturally formed stone. Although that would be a little too shabby, it was still an item and could be considered a gift, but no one had expected that this brat would actually take out a stone that no one would even notice if it was thrown on the side of the road. And it was so small, what could it be used for? Tui. It would take up more space if it was bigger, and it would be even more useless. Could it be that this brat was purposely causing trouble? Some people thought gloatingly in their hearts. It's actually really a stone. Ha ha ha. Qiu Peng was also stunned for a moment. Then he suddenly burst into laughter, bending over with tears and snot flowing down his face. Mo Junyi. Ha ha. You country bumpkin, you've really gone crazy from poverty to actually take out such a stone at the Manor Lord's birthday banquet. You're really too shameless. I really admire your courage. What kind of gift is this? Do you think we're all blind? I don't know if you're blind or not, but I really like this stone. It's really such a beautiful stone. Miao Xiao Miao strolled out, her eyes unblinking as she stared at Jun Moxie's palm, her eyes filled with sincere love and satisfaction. It's too beautiful. Junyi, can I touch it? Miao Xiao Miao had already made up her mind. As long as Mo Junyi handed it to her, once she received it, she would immediately put it into her bosom, then announce that this stone was the gift that she liked the most anyway. No one would be able to take this stone out from her bosom. Moreover, when had she ever lied? The gift given by Mo Junyi was naturally the best. Miss Miao, little sister Xiao Miao, how can you distort the truth? Qiu Peng shouted in exasperation. They did not notice that the moment Mo Junyi took out the stone, all the experts above the Holy Emperor, including the high-level Saint Venerables, did not question or sneer like the others. Instead, they all stood up with a wolf-like green light in their eyes. All the peak experts present stared at the stone without blinking. This greedy gaze was filled with possessiveness. It was as if he wanted to swallow the stone in one gulp. That's right, everyone present had the same thought. Swallow this stone in one gulp. Even Miao Jingyan seemed to have forgotten to speak. His mouth was slightly agape as he stared unblinkingly at the stone. After a long time, He slowly raised his head and looked at June Moxie. Sir Meow, I wonder if you like this stone as a birthday gift? June Moxie smiled faintly before casually tossing the stone over. He threw it towards a table in the middle of the hall, the table that was filled with gifts. Don't throw it. Be careful. F***CK. Be careful. In an instant, more than 100 people cried out in alarm. The faces of all the experts present, including the Saint Venerables, turned deathly white. In an instant, the wind howled in the hall, and white shadows flew everywhere. In the middle, there was an eye-catching red shadow. That was the birthday star, Miao Jingyun, Old Master Miao. The peak experts present all launched their fastest movement techniques at the same time, pouncing in the direction of the falling stone. One of the Saint Venerables felt that Xiao Peng, who was standing near the table, was a hindrance and directly kicked him away. The other Saint Venerable, standing at the back of the table, directly stretched out his hand. With a crash, all the gifts on the table were swept to the ground. Many of them were smashed to pieces. That 1,000-year-old longevity pine was also broken into many pieces. Pine needles flew everywhere, but that Saint Venerable did not seem to care at all. With a schwa sound, he flew out and only opened his palm to receive that small stone. In this instant, all the peak experts present only had that small stone in their eyes. There was nothing else. The figures flew about chaotically for a while before finally landing. A fourth-level Saint Venerable stood in the middle, holding that small stone as if it was a priceless treasure. All around him were Saint Venerable experts from the Holy Emperor. All of them stared at the stone in that fourth-level Saint Venerable's hand. They were most likely wary of this old man's strength and afraid that they would accidentally destroy the stone. Otherwise, they would have long since snatched it away. The fourth-level Saint Venerable who snatched the stone stared at his palm and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. As he swallowed, a gulp sound rang out in the surroundings. All the peak experts had swallowed their saliva at the same time. After a long, long time, this fourth-level Saint Venerable finally raised his head shakily. Then, he lowered his head again and stared at the stone in his palm with great reluctance. With a hoarse voice that sounded as if his heart was dripping blood, he said in a sorrowful voice, Since this is that sent over as a birthday gift, then, Manor Lord, please accept it. As he spoke, his lips trembled and his body trembled. From the looks of it, it was obvious that he was filled with grief and reluctance. As if he was about to burst into tears at any moment, this kind of rare treasure. No, this was a heavenly treasure that was hard to come by even in 1,000,000,000,000 years. To be given away just like that. The grief in this Saint Venerable's heart was like a tsunami. Miao Jingyun heaved a sigh of relief and laughed heartily as he received the stone. That makes sense. This is the birthday gift that M.O. Brat gave to this old man. This old man, he shall shamelessly accept it, As he spoke, he quickly stuffed the stone into his bosom, as if he was afraid that someone would snatch it away from him. At the same time, a flush of excitement appeared on this old man's face. Lord Manor Lord this, that. The fourth-grade Heavenly Venerable who had just handed over the stone did something that all the youngsters despised, but all the experts were envious of. Then he stammered, Manor Lord, cough, cough, this old man has already been stuck at a bottleneck for 400 years. I wonder, cough, 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 if you can bestow a little powder, cough, cough, cough. The moment he said this, all the Saint Venerables immediately glared at him. Too shameless. You've only been stuck at 400 years. Which one of you here hasn't been stuck at a bottleneck for hundreds of years? There are even those who have been stuck at a bottleneck for over 1,000 years. What kind of situation are you in these 400 years? A little powder. You make it sound so F***king easy. Such a small stone. How much powder can there be? Why don't you go and rob someone? And although this item is a gift that M.O. Brat gave to this old man, since it has appeared in the Misty Mansion, it naturally has to be dealt with fairly. Cough, cough. This, after today, will immediately call for a meeting of the elders to discuss how to deal with it. Miao Jingyun's face twitched as he spoke, a pained expression on his face. Looking at all the expectant gazes, Miao Jingyun felt extremely uncomfortable in his heart. F*CK. What kind of people are these? This was clearly a birthday gift that someone had given to this old man. It belongs to me alone, but now it's actually turned into a public item. That MO brat is also too much. How could he take out such a good thing in front of everyone? If he had given it to this old man in private, how much trouble would that have saved? This scene caused those in the hall who weren't of a high enough level to look at each other in dismay. Just what kind of situation was this? What was going on? Could it be that the upper echelons of the Misty Mansion had all gone mad? In particular, young Master Chiopeng, who was inexplicably kicked out and was limping back, was even more dumbfounded. This was going on. Li Xingyu and the rest also had looks of incredulity on their faces. This was too ridiculous, right? Was there a need to do this? Wasn't it just a matchmake little sister, Xiao Miao, and Mo Junye's marriage? To actually make so many elders put on a show together. Snatch that inconspicuous stone. This was too much, right? Lord Manor Lord. This stone is nothing more than a very ordinary stone. It's one thing for little sister, Xiao Miao, to distort the truth. She must have been hoodwinked by someone. But all of you are at the peak of this world. How can you speak such blatant lies? This junior is not convinced. Chiopeng cried out in a wronged manner. Chiopeng's mind was a little muddled when he saw that he was about to marry the beauty, but he did not expect such a thing to happen. Shut up. Over 100 people roared in unison. The surging anger that had gathered in an instant was like a flash flood as they charged towards young Master Chiopeng with a clear target. A total of more than 100 Holy Emperor and the Lord shouted angrily at the same time. This huge force gathered together, and with a loud bang, Chiopeng was sent flying away like he was riding on a cloud. After a long time, a soft thud could be heard as he landed on the ground. The head of the Chiu family, Chiu Qingyun, did not argue for his grandson. Instead, his face was filled with anger. The person who shouted the loudest "shut up" earlier was none other than the head of the Chiu family. At the same time, countless disdainful and mocking gazes came from all directions, focusing on Chiu Chengyun's body. Old man Chiu's face was full of shame, and he deeply lowered his head. This was truly shameful. Even if you don't have knowledge, you should still have common sense. Even if you don't have common sense, you should still have knowledge. Even if you don't have anything, can't you just shut up like everyone else? Why'd you have to come out and shout like that? But now, the Chiu family's reputation has been completely destroyed by your shout. Not even a little bit is left. Miao Xiao Miao was also shocked by the sudden scene in front of her. Her mouth was wide open, and she was speechless for a long time. After a long time, her eyes that were filled with shock finally turned around and stared at Jun Moxie's face with a strong sense of doubt. Recommending a new book, the new book by Chidian's great god Gyuju, The Prosperous Officials and Merchants. Book number 1690864. It tells the story of the rebirth of a heaven's favorite son of heaven who opened up the path of the prosperous officials and merchants. Chapter 10:26. Jun Moxie waved his hands innocently and said with some helplessness, "I don't know. I'm also not sure just what was going on here." Regarding this matter, it was truly out of Jun Dashao's expectations. That piece of stone was actually the spirit vein fragment that he had knocked off when he was with Mei Shuyin the last time. A large portion of it had been taken away by Mei Shuyin to increase the strength of the Tianfa forest when they returned. Jun Mo Xie still had a few small pieces in his possession, and he had taken out the smallest of them this time. The young Master Jun had thought that this stone was a good thing. In fact, it was enough to intimidate the entire audience. But how could he have imagined that such a small thing would cause such a stir? This was too shocking, right? Although his older brother had thought of the start of the matter, he had not thought of the process and the result. After the shock, everyone's eyes turned to stare fixedly at Jun Moxie. This brat is truly F***king heaven-defying to actually take out such a good thing. This, M.O. brat, this stone, cough, cough. Where did you get it from? Miao Jingyun's words caused everyone's ears to perk up. That's right. Since there was a first piece, there might be a second piece. If they knew the exact location, or if there was a third piece, a fourth piece, if there were any more discoveries, then it would really be it's like this around 7 or 8 years old. June Moxie began to make up stories. This was his forte. There was nothing to eat that time, and I was extremely hungry. So I went in the mountains to look for wild fruits to eat. Then I suddenly met with a landslide, and I was almost buried alive. That time, I was really too unlucky, young Master June explained vividly, and everyone present heaved a sigh of relief as they suddenly realized what was going on. No wonder, so it was a landslide. I was wondering why such a good thing would land in the hands of this brat. He actually said that he was unlucky after obtaining such a thing. Is this called unlucky? Why didn't I encounter such an unlucky thing? When the group of peak experts heard Jun Daxiao's description, they all had the same thought. Just when I thought I was going to die, there were 2 bangs. 2 rocks hit my head, and I almost fainted. Junimo Xie rubbed his head with some lingering fear in his heart. Then I reached out and took these 2 stones. One of them was a little smaller, and it was still a little soft to my touch. I was too hungry at that time, and this stone actually had a nice fragrance, so I swallowed the smaller one. I was too hungry, so I didn't care about anything else. When Da Xiao said this, all the experts stamped their feet and pounded their chests. What a pity. This was truly a cow chewing on a peony. This was a real waste of a heavenly treasure. After I ate it, I felt full immediately. Then I slept for a while, and when I woke up, I still didn't feel hungry. Even the scratches from the landslide had healed. My stomach wasn't hungry anymore, so I naturally felt energetic and wanted to go home. At that time, I thought that the stone should be a good thing. At least it could be eaten. I could use it to stave off my hunger in the future. I conveniently kept the other stone in my bosom. When my master found me, I showed him the stone, but he didn't recognize it. He didn't know what it was, so he just told me to keep it safe. So, I kept it until today. June Moxie smiled shyly. Today is the Manorhead's birthday, and I really don't have anything to show. So, I took out this thing to make up for it. This thing is not bad, right? Not bad, right? All the experts almost fainted from the shock of his words. Not only was it not bad, it was simply too good. He actually didn't have anything to show. Even if you want to beat someone up, you can't beat them like this. If this thing could not be taken out, what else could be taken out onto the heavens? At the same time, everyone broke out in cold sweat. F*CK, this brat actually dared to carry such a treasure around with him, and even took it out so casually for so many people to see. Thinking of this, everyone almost couldn't breathe. Too dangerous. What if someone saw this thing earlier and happened to recognize it? Then would it even be our turn? Also, this fellow actually carried it around in his bosom, thinking of taking it out to stave off his hunger when he ran out of food. This F*King brat actually carried a big steam bun around with him. Everyone's minds were in chaos. At the same time, they rejoiced in their hearts. It was all thanks to the peace and prosperity of Tianxiang Empire. If this brat had starved, the consequences would have been unimaginable. That mountain, what's it called? Miao Jingyun represented everyone and asked the question that everyone wanted to ask the most. That mountain is just a bare mountain. It doesn't have a specific name, but when I went down the mountain, I heard the villagers say that it's called Mount Everest. June Moxie said carefully. He snickered in his heart. Old fellows, go ahead and search. Even if you turn the entire world upside down, you won't be able to find Mount Everest. Mount Everest. Everyone let out a long sigh at the same time. They secretly and firmly engraved this strange name in the depths of their hearts. Seniors, from what I saw earlier, could it be that this stone is really very precious? Jun Daxiao put on a naive expression and pretended to be innocent. Precious? This kind of godly item. How can it be described with the word precious? A Saint Venerable expert said fiercely. Also, don't use the term this stone or that stone to evaluate it. Such terms are simply blasphemy towards this godly item. The stone that you're talking about is the legendary heavenly jade. Do you understand now? This time, even those who were still in a state of confusion and didn't know what that stone was all burst into an uproar. Heavenly jade? It's actually heavenly jade. It's actually the legendary heavenly jade that's rumored to be able to increase one's cultivation by several hundred years just by scraping off a bit of its powder. Heavenly jade, ah. In that instant, everyone's eyes turned red. Seeing this scene, Miao Jingyun glared angrily at that Saint Venerable. That Saint Venerable also knew that he'd misspoken, and his face turned red. Cough, cough. Everyone, please be quiet for a moment and listen to this old man. Miao Jingyun coughed twice and gestured for everyone to quieten down. A moment later, everyone finally quietened down, but everyone's faces were still flushed with excitement. Today's gifts. As Miao Jingyun spoke, he subconsciously looked towards a table. Only then did he realize that the table had already been cleaned up. The originally dazzling and expensive birthday gifts on the table had already turned into a mess of rubbish. Cough, cough, cough. Although the gifts had all turned into rubbish, Manor Lord Miao was still extremely happy in his heart. Now that he'd obtained the heavenly jade, even if all these gifts were turned into ashes, he wouldn't care about it. Coughing dryly again, he said nonchalantly, "Of course, Emo Junye's gift suits this old man the most, and is also the most precious and unique. Furthermore, it has a deeper meaning to it. I believe that no one will have any more objections, right?" All the old fogies nodded their heads like chickens pecking at rice. Precious and unique is not necessarily the most profound, but it suits your heart the most, and it's the most correct. In fact, it's completely beyond your expectations. What a joke if such a godly item still couldn't snatch the first place in today's gift. Then it would be too unreasonable, since no one has any objections. Then Emo Jun Yi shall be the son-in-law of our Miao family, the husband of that last Xiao Miao. Today can be considered as a double celebration. First, it's this old man's 500th birthday celebration. Second, it's the day that my granddaughter, Xiao Miao, has found her ideal husband. Everyone, please drink to your heart's content and drink until you're drunk. Following this sentence, the crowd burst into an uproar once again. Many of the younger generation's eyes were filled with envy and jealousy. Look at this old man. He's really, he only gave out a piece of jade that he didn't even know what it was, and he obtained such a beautiful wife. AI, comparisons are truly infuriating, huh? Old Manor Lord Miao is also too much. No matter how precious that gift is, could it be that you're going to sell your own granddaughter just like that? All the good cabbages have been taken away by that thing. Miao Jingyun had just finished speaking when Holy Emperor Chao Guofeng stood out with a flushed face. Today is the day that my little disciple Junyi and Miss Miao are engaged, and also Manor Lord's 500th birthday. It's truly a double celebration. This one, Chao Guofeng, is also honored. Not only was he honored, Holy Emperor Chao Guofeng's grin was so wide that it almost reached his cheeks. All the experts looked at that lucky Holy Emperor Chao Guofeng with envy and jealousy. Many of them felt that it was unfair in their hearts, and they almost wanted to give Chao Holy Emperor a good beating. What the hell are you so proud of, ah? Look at how your old face is smiling like a chrysanthemum. It's so King irritating. The moment Chao Guofeng came out by Chi Feng and the rest all stood behind him, looking around proudly. They had a share in the disciple's wife's tea in the future as well. Just thinking about it was enough to satisfy one's craving. When Chao Guofeng finished speaking, the MC jumped out again. Now, may we invite the two newlyweds to exchange their betrothal items and pledge to be together for 100 years. Following the loud voice, Miao Xiao Miao no longer had that heroic air from before. She was so embarrassed that her entire body almost went soft. But her heart was filled with happiness and satisfaction. Madame Miao took out a wooden sword that was completely black in color and passed it over solemnly. Everyone present let out a series of exclamations. The origins of this wooden sword were not simple. but it was made from the wood core of the rainbow holy tree. When worn on the body, it could cleanse one's heart and eyes and make one immune to all evils. It could be considered an extremely rare treasure. When it was June Moxie's turn, Da Xiao was in a difficult position. Chapter 10:27. As for the other treasures, it didn't matter whether it was those 10,000-year-old elixirs or heavenly treasures. They were easy for the young master to obtain. However, those things weren't hidden at all. In fact, any one of them was enough to shock the world. And Jun Mo Xie couldn't possibly possess them with his current status. So, how could he obtain them by luck? Would anyone believe it? After much deliberation, Jun Moxie finally took out a small jade bottle and laughed dryly. I really have nothing on me, but these are 3 pills that my master spent his entire life savings and entrusted an old friend to buy for him. At that time, he said that only those who have reached the realm of Shan Xian and above are qualified to consume these 3 pills. I have failed to live up to my master's expectations and am still far from it, but Miss Meow has already surpassed that limit. I will use this as a betrothal gift. Everyone once again did not know whether to laugh or cry. This great prodigy, Mo, was really ingenious in the way he did things. First, he gave a stone as a birthday gift, and now he actually gave medicine as a betrothal gift. Oh, but what kind of pill is it? To actually have such a strange restriction? A Saint Venerable suddenly stood out. No matter how Jun Moxie looked at this person, he felt that he was somewhat familiar, but no matter how he looked, he could not remember where he had seen this old man before. This senior is an elder of our Miao family. If we were to talk about seniority, he is 2 generations higher than grandfather. This old ancestor is called Miao Bujian. The old ancestor can be said to have devoted his entire life to the study of herbs and plants. He has extremely high attainments in this area. In our Misty Mansion, he has the title of King of Medicine. Miao Xiao Miao leaned close to Da Xiao's ear and introduced him in a low voice. Jun Moxie only felt an intoxicating fragrance assaulting him. Miao Xiao Miao's soft petal-like lips almost touched his skin. Da Xiao instantly felt a numbness all over his body and almost did not hear what she said clearly. He subconsciously turned his head slightly, and Miao Xiao Miao could not dodge in time. Her lips instantly touched Jun Moxie's ear, and her face was instantly dyed with a layer of red. She quietly rolled her eyes at him and said in a low voice, "You're so bad." Jun Moxie chuckled, thinking to himself, women do not like bad men. Miao Bujian received the jade bottle. Opening it and sniffing it lightly, his expression instantly turned serious. After a long while, he solemnly said, "These 3 pills are naturally not as magical as the heavenly jade, but they are still priceless treasures. Any one of these pills contains an unusually large amount of pure spiritual energy. If one were to consume it, it would indeed have the miraculous effect of increasing one's power. Moreover, there wouldn't be any side effects. No wonder the requirements for consuming this pill are so high. If someone below the spirit Xian realm were to consume this pill rashly, their body would immediately explode and die. This is truly a miraculous pill." As he spoke, he let out a long sigh, his eyes staring at the small jade bottle as he muttered, "This old man has been obsessed with the path of pills all his life, but I never thought that there would actually be such an amazing method of stealing the fortune of heaven and earth in this world." In terms of medicinal efficacy, this pill is somewhat similar to the pills auctioned by the aristocratic hall in Xianxian Continent's Tianxiang City some time ago, but in terms of actual function, it is far inferior. It can be said to be a peerless treasure that is rarely seen in this world. Jun Moxie was slightly startled. He actually knew about the aristocratic hall's pills. No wonder he felt a sense of familiarity when he saw him. But who was this person? I don't believe it. The one who spoke was the ashen-faced and crippled Xiaopeng. He had just been thrown out by the airwave of countless peak experts and actually fainted for quite a while. He had just come in, but he heard the news of Miao Xiao Miao's engagement on the spot. Not only was it an engagement, but they were also exchanging tokens of engagement on the spot. how could Xiao Peng endure such a change? The bewitched Xiao Dashao immediately shouted without a care. Aren't you guys too much? Even if you're sure that Mo Jun Yi has the free and natural physique and has a limitless future, but one thing he takes out is a peerless treasure? One is, and so is the other. How can a country bumpkin like him have so many good things? This is too fake. Are you trying to fool a 3-year-old? Do you doubt the conclusion that this old man has given? Miao Bujian's eyes slanted as he asked disdainfully, "Who do you think you are? How dare you doubt this old man's judgment? Evil creature, hurry up and back down." Qiu Cheng Yin hurriedly shouted, then hurriedly smiled apologetically at Miao Bujian. "Old Senior Miao, please be magnanimous and don't lower yourself to the level of this ignorant junior. When we return, I will definitely teach this useless thing a good lesson." Apart from being extremely strong and having reached the Saint Venerable realm, Miao Bujian also had the reputation of the king of medicine. No matter who was seriously injured in the Misty Mansion, even if others were helpless, as long as this old man made a move, the illness would be cured and the dead would be revived. He could be said to be the most popular and extremely special existence in the Misty Mansion. Not to mention that he was an elder of 2 generations in the Miao family. Although Qiu Chengyan was also the head of the family, if he really angered Miao Bujian, he would most likely fall into the miserable situation of being ganged up on by the people of the Misty Mansion. Miao Bujian snorted heavily and said, "Ignorant child, what kind of upbringing does your Qiu family have? Today is the manor head's birthday. Such an ignorant child making irresponsible remarks. Could it be that he's here to stir up trouble?" As he said this, Qiu Chengyun's face was instantly covered with soybean-sized beads of sweat. This crime was really not light. Not to mention that Xiao Peng alone could not bear it. Even the entire Qiu family would have a hard time. "It's all right, please calm down, Senior Miao. Since someone has doubts, why not let Miss Miao consume one on the spot and test its effects? After all, this junior is also quite curious about the final gift my teacher gave me." Jun Moxie said with a faint smile. What he took out was the Heaven Extremes pill. Consuming one could increase one's pure cultivation by 60 years. The most special thing about this pill was that it could be repeatedly consumed. As long as no more than 3 pills were consumed, the pill's effects would be completely absorbed by the user. In other words, these 3 pills could increase anyone's pure cultivation by 180 years. To those who did not understand the art of alchemy, this was definitely an incredible miracle. It was reasonable for some people to be suspicious. All right, to be honest, Miao Bujian was also very interested in seeing the specific effects of this pill. He only thought about it for a moment before agreeing. From the aura emitted by the pill earlier, he could tell that the increase in strength of the person who consumed it was probably not a small amount. If he was able to witness someone consume such a miraculous pill and break through, it would definitely open up a whole new world to him. Therefore, Miao Bujian could not wait any longer. "Are you really confident?" Miao Xiao Miao held a pill in her hand, her beautiful eyes sparkling as she looked at Jun Moxie with some worry. "Don't worry, it'll be fine." Jun Moxie sent a reassuring smile. "Just take it, my master won't lie to you. I believe you." Miao Xiao Miao looked at him affectionately and sent the pill in her mouth before sitting down cross-legged. Even if what Jun Moxie took out was poison, Miao Xiao Miao would swallow it without hesitation at this moment to prove its authenticity. What's more, it was an elixir of this level. Although Miao Xiao Miao did not know the effects of this pill, she still swallowed it without hesitation out of her unreserved trust in Jun Moxie. The moment the pill entered her stomach, Miao Xiao Miao immediately felt an exceptionally pure Xian Qi surging up from her dantian. In an instant, the Xian Qi in her body was like dry firewood encountering a raging fire, burning up with a loud bang. This sudden burst of Xian Qi was felt by all the venerable and above experts present. Feeling the raging spirit Qi in the air, everyone's gazes turned heated as they looked at the little jade bottle. At this moment, there was no longer any doubt that this pill could increase one's cultivation. Protector, Miao Jingyun exclaimed in shock. He immediately went behind his granddaughter and placed his palm on her back, circulating his xian qi to help Miao digest the medicinal effects. Right now, it was clear that the xian qi in Miao's body had already met the requirements for a breakthrough. Who would have thought that Miao Bujian's seemingly exaggerated analysis would turn out to be too small? Just a small pill like this actually had such tyrannical medicinal effects? Under Miao Jingyun's saint venerable cultivation, Miao did not spend too much time to completely digest the medicinal effects of this Heaven Extremes pill. Standing up slowly, she felt her entire body brimming with energy, and the xian qi in her meridians flowed endlessly. She'd actually broken through the bottleneck and reached the second level of the venerable realm. Such a shocking breakthrough. The beauty was naturally both shocked and overjoyed. Shit. Miao Jingyun's face changed as he exclaimed in a low voice. Following these words, the originally clear and bright sky suddenly became overcast. A huge black cloud slowly formed in the sky, and then slowly rotated, slowly forming the shape of a deep-colored round eye in the middle. The appearance of the eye, the heavenly tribulation, Miao's accidental breakthrough had actually attracted the heavenly tribulation. Everyone's faces changed. She'd only consumed a single pill, and it immediately attracted the heavenly tribulation. Just how heaven-defying was this pill? But after the initial shock, everyone immediately fell into a state of worry. If Miao had cultivated on her own and accumulated her strength to reach the point of breaking through, then passing through the heavenly tribulation would not be a big deal. Although it would not be easy, it would definitely not be too difficult. After all, the heavenly tribulation of second-level venerable was only the beginning of the lightning tribulation, and its power was not very strong. But right now, Miao had borrowed the medicinal effects of the pill to reach the point of breaking through in one go. Not only had her cultivation not stabilized, she could not even control her newly obtained xian qi as she pleased. If she wanted to pass through the heavenly tribulation, the difficulty would be rather high. But for something like the heavenly tribulation, outsiders could not help rashly. Once they tried to help, they would only be dragging themselves into it. Most importantly, the heavenly tribulation would adjust the strength of the lightning tribulation according to the strength of the helper. If they acted rashly, not only would they not help, they would instead harm Miao. Recommending a new book, my good friend Wu Shanyun's latest masterpiece, Lord of Evil. Everyone knows who Wu Shanyun is. Just by looking at his name, you can guess how perverted this person is. This fellow has always claimed to be swaying between awesome A and awesome C, I don't know what's in between, but this fellow's new book is really good. I just read a few chapters and fell into it. Cough, cough. Everyone, don't leak the fact that this fellow has a manuscript. Even if you leak it, don't say it's from me. But it's said that it's worth hundreds of thousands. So everyone can rest assured and collect it. Also, this fellow is trying to get into the new book rankings this week. Everyone should go and support him, give him a few recommendation votes, and let him be surprised by the great power of us evil monarchs brothers. Ha ha ha. At the same time, it seems that I can also earn a drink. Just treat it as everyone treating me to a drink, and Wu Shan paid. Oh yeah, this kind of big shot, it would be a waste not to take advantage of him. So, everyone help me take advantage of him. Chapter 1028. Could it be that today's joyous day was going to turn into a tragedy because of this sudden heavenly tribulation? In that instant, everyone present glared at Xiao Peng fiercely. If it weren't for you, Brad, how could such a shameful thing have happened? After today, Xiao Peng had become a street rat in the Misty Mansion, to the point where everyone wanted to beat him up. Moreover, this kid had a new nickname, Unlucky Idiot. Naturally, it meant that no matter where this kid went, he would bring bad luck to others. This outstanding nickname made Xiao Peng feel like he was cut off from the world. It was too tragic. Miao's expression also changed. She looked at Jun Moxie, but did not say anything. Instead, she turned around and walked out. This young girl had resolutely chosen to face it alone, not to implicate others. No one spoke because at this time, no matter who spoke, it would only affect Miao Xiao Miao's current state of mind, thus affecting the success or failure of the heavenly tribulation. Furthermore, they did not follow her out, because if they were too close, the heavenly tribulation would automatically think that they had entered the range of the heavenly tribulation. Then, it would bring unimaginable negative effects to Miao Xiao Miao. No matter how worried everyone was, they could only look on helplessly as Miao Xiao Miao's resolute figure shot out like she was flying. Following Miao Xiao Miao's swift departure, the heavenly tribulation clouds in the sky also moved away. All the experts present had a look of pity on their faces, obviously not optimistic about Xiao Miao's chances of passing the heavenly tribulation this time. Madame Miao's body swayed, and she almost fainted. It was only because of Miao Huanyu's support that she did not collapse. But tears flowed down her cheeks. My poor daughter. Today, she had just obtained the happiness she had been longing for. Is she going to lose it now? Heavens! Why are you so cruel? Why are you so unfair? I'll go and take a look. Jun Moxie was stunned for a moment, but he quickly followed, running all the way. Don't go, Miao Huanyu had just said. With the meager strength of great prodigy Mo, he wouldn't be of any help at all. He would only be a burden, but he was stopped by Miao Jingyan. Miao Jingyan sucked in a deep breath and said, with his strength, it's not enough to increase Xiao Miao's burden. Let him go and put in some effort. Rare, truly rare. This kid is actually able to take on such responsibility at such a critical moment of life and death. It truly makes me feel gratified. Miao Huanyu nodded and said in a hoarse voice, Xiao Miao did not misjudge him. A mournful smile appeared on Madame Miao's pale face as she said, to live and die with you, Mo Junyi. It is only at this moment that I have truly acknowledged him as my son-in-law. He is not afraid of death for Xiao Miao. Xiao Miao following him, no matter if it is in the heavens or on the earth, it will not be in vain. As her mother, I can finally rest assured. In the great hall, everyone's faces were heavy, especially those youngsters. Many of them had a look of shame on their faces. Just now, they were still calling Xiao Miao their little sister, saying that they would give her happiness and sacrifice themselves for her. But at this critical moment, the one who was truly willing to live and die with Miao Xiao Miao was only Mo Junyi. As for the top experts of the older generation, their hearts were in turmoil. Right now, Mo Junyi's actions could not be said to be living and dying with Miao Xiao Miao, but he was directly sending himself to his death. It must be known that the heavenly tribulation was calculated based on the number of people involved and their strength. Although Mo Junyi had the legendary free and natural physique, his cultivation was only at the Gold Xian realm. With his participation in the heavenly tribulation, the power of the heavenly tribulation would increase slightly, but this increase would be shared between the two of them. The pressure that Miao Xiao Miao had to bear would be reduced by a lot, but correspondingly, Mo Junyi would have to face a dangerous situation where he had a slim chance of survival. This action of Mo Daxiao was equivalent to using his own life to exchange for a greater chance of survival for Miao Xiao Miao. Such sincerity, how could anyone not be moved? The Qiu family's patriarch, Qiu Chengyun, looked at his grandson angrily and pointed at him with a trembling finger. His face was pale with anger. You bastard! Look at the trouble you've caused. I really don't know what to say to you. When you return this time, immediately go into seclusion for this old man. Without this old man's orders, you are not allowed to come out. At this time, the sound of thunder had already resounded in the distance. Silver, snake-like bolts of lightning struck down one after another. Although the location of the heavenly tribulation was extremely far from here, it still caused the area to flicker between bright and dark. From this, it could be determined that Miao Xiao Miao had chosen a relatively remote place to undergo the heavenly tribulation and had not affected any of the people in the Misty Mansion. Li Xingyu's face was as black as water, and his temples were throbbing. It was obvious that the anger in his heart was already uncontrollable. Suddenly, Ling Ling said, "Brother Chiu, didn't you always boast that you like Sister Xiao Miao?" Now that Sister Xiao Miao has encountered the heavenly tribulation, Brother Mo, who is only at the Gold Xian realm, has already rushed over to help Sister Xiao Miao resist the heavenly tribulation. You've always boasted that your love for Sister Xiao Miao is as deep as the ocean, so why haven't you gone over yet? Xiao Peng looked at the lightning outside, and his face couldn't help but turn pale. He trembled and said, This is her heavenly tribulation. What does it have to do with me? I'm not going. If you want to court death, then go ahead. Li Xingyu snorted and said, If it wasn't for your words just now, how could such a thing have happened? Isn't this all because of your jealousy? And now, you still have the nerve to say such words. Do you still have any shame? Xiao Peng forced himself to maintain his spirit, and reluctantly said, What I've asked just now is nothing more than what everyone else is thinking. It's just that they borrowed my mouth to ask, so what does it have to do with me? Lady Miao is now Mo Junye's fiancée, so it's only right that he rush over. Why should I go? If Lady Miao was betrothed to me today, I would have gone long ago. This sentence caused everyone to hiss and hiss. Looking at this fellow's cowardly behavior, who was scared witless, no one would believe that he would go. In order to cut off the connection, he had even changed the little sister Xiao Miao that he had always been talking about to Lady Miao. Madame Miao looked at him with disdain, thinking that it was fortunate that she hadn't followed the family's wishes and chosen her daughter's lifelong partner from these aristocratic families. Look at him, he's clearly afraid of death, but he's still trying to quibble. How could he be worthy of her daughter? Miao, Xiao Miao flew all the way. Although she looked calm on the surface, her heart was in a mess. Today was the happiest day of her life, because she had finally exchanged the marriage ceremony with him and became his woman. This was the home that she had longed for all her life. But today, she had also attracted her heavenly tribulation. If she couldn't overcome it, then she would turn into ashes. Junyi, why is my life so bitter? I really want to spend the rest of my life with you, bear your children, grow old with you, hold your hand, and grow old with you. But I don't know if the heavens are willing to give me this chance. As the dark clouds gathered, lightning flashed and thunder roared even more fiercely. She finally arrived at a desolate place, and the storm that had been brewing in the sky for a long time finally fell. In an instant, the world turned misty. The tribulation clouds in the sky became thicker and thicker, and the rotation became slower and slower. The first lightning tribulation was about to strike. Just at this moment, a series of quick but clear footsteps could be heard. Why would there be someone who dared to come in the middle of the tribulation? Who was it? Miao Xiao Miao turned around in shock. She saw a white figure moving at an extremely fast speed in the midst of the heavy rain. In the blink of an eye, he had already arrived in front of her. An extremely ordinary face with a pair of sincere, smiling eyes. The person who had come was Mo Junyi, my fiancé. In that instant, Miao Xiao Miao almost fainted. A strong sense of happiness and great worry invaded her heart in an instant. Why are you here? What are you doing here? Go back quickly. Don't come any closer. Don't come over, don't. Miao Xiao Miao cried out in panic. She wasn't worried about herself at all. Her eyes were filled with worry for this ordinary young man in front of her. It's too dangerous. Although it's dangerous for me to undergo the tribulation here, there's still a sliver of hope. But with his insignificant cultivation, it's no different from sending him to his death. How could you forget? We're already engaged. You see, she's my wife now, my woman. June Moxie smiled gently. Wherever my wife is, I'll naturally be there. Husband and wife are one. How can I let my wife bear the burden alone when something happens? Isn't that too damaging to my pride as a man? Don't tell me we're really going to go our separate ways in the face of disaster. I don't care about other people's choices, but I definitely won't do that. You, Miao Xiao Miao, could only say one word before tears started to flow down, blurring her vision. My fiancé. the person whom I love with my heart. He rushed over at the critical moment of my life and death to share life and death with me. He clearly knew that this was no different from sending himself to his death, but he still came without any hesitation. At this moment, Meow Xiao Meow's heart was filled with boundless emotions and immense happiness. Although this young man's words were very vulgar, but she knew that he said it on purpose, in order to reduce the pressure in her heart. Meow Xiao Meow looked at June Moxie in a daze. At this moment, she had completely forgotten about the tribulation clouds in the sky, forgot to gather her profound energy and prepare for battle, forgot that she was on the brink of death. She only looked at him without blinking, as though she wanted to carve this face in her heart, no matter if it was for life or death. To remember it firmly. Junyi, my lover. All of a sudden, all the hesitation, reluctance, fear, self-pity, and unease in Meow Xiao Meow's heart disappeared. The only thing left was her strong willpower, an incomparably immense self-confidence. Today, I must persevere on. For him, I can't die. I must not die. Chapter 1029. No. June Moxie shook his head and smiled calmly. This trial belongs to the two of us. We have to fight side by side. Not just this trial, even the next trial, the one after that. We'll get through it together. Believe me, with me here, we'll definitely make it. Meow Xiao Meow bit her lip and nodded deeply. Then, she quietly moved her feet and leaned her soft and alluring body into this man's embrace. Her head lightly pressed against his shoulder. Meow Xiao Meow murmured, June, I'm so happy, so blessed to have you in this life. Even if I can't get through this tribulation, I have no regrets in this life. June Moxie hugged her and said in a low voice, How can there be no regrets? You haven't even given birth to 17 or 18 sons and daughters for me, and you still want to hold my hand and grow old with me. You're saying that you have no regrets in this life so easily? That's too unambitious of you. Even if you have no regrets, I won't agree to it. The heavy rain poured down, and their clothes were soaked in an instant. The weather was hot, and the clothes they wore were thin and breathable. Meow Xiao Meow's clothes were sticking to her body, revealing her curves. Hugging each other like this was no different from hugging each other naked. But in their hearts, there wasn't any lust. There was only true love, that's all. At this moment, an abnormally firm belief rose in Meow Xiao Meow's heart. Junyi is with me. Nothing must happen to him. If I can't hold on, he'll probably die with me. But I won't allow that to happen. If I feel that I can't hold on any longer, I'll kill myself first. If I die, the heavenly tribulation will naturally disappear as well. That way, nothing will happen to Junyi. Thunder boomed in the sky. A silver snake coiled down. It struck towards Meow Xiao Meow's head. The first wave of heavenly tribulation had finally arrived. Step back. The moment Meow Xiao Meow woke up from her stupor, the profound energy in her entire body started to circulate crazily. Even though she was busy, she still spontaneously used a gentle force to push June Moxie to the side. One must know that Meow Xiao Meow was at the critical moment of passing the tribulation. At this time, any bit of profound energy could cause the failure of passing the tribulation. However, in order to keep her beloved slightly away from danger, Meow Xiao Meow was still not stingy with that gentle but strong force. She pushed June Moxie away. Then her delicate body soared up and faced the flash of lightning in midair. Even if they were underground, they would still affect the person they loved. The only way was to neutralize the threat in midair. With a loud boom, Meow Xiao Meow, who was facing the first bolt of lightning tribulation, let out a muffled groan as her body plummeted 30 zhang down. But that bolt of lightning had also dissipated into nothingness. Before she had time to catch her breath, the second lightning once again shone with a dazzling brilliance that illuminated the heavens and earth. It snaked through the clouds and struck down at an extremely fast speed. After the second loud sound, Meow Xiao Meow fell back to the ground, Jun Moxie watched this scene from the side. His pupils contracted, but his expression remained calm. It wasn't that Da Xiao didn't want to directly use the Hung Jun Pagoda to stop the heavenly tribulation and end this game. However, this game was the first time that Miao Xiao Miao had personally experienced the heavenly tribulation. No matter what, he had to let her experience it personally. Only by personally experiencing the power of the heavens and earth would she be able to obtain the corresponding enlightenment and truly possess the strength of a venerable. This was like a phoenix bathing in flames, undergoing nirvana rebirth. If Jun Moxie ended this dangerous game right from the start, not only would it not be good for Miao Xiao Miao's future development, it would also be extremely disadvantageous. He would also lose the original intention of giving away the Heaven Extremes pill. He could only wait until she really couldn't hold on any longer, and then he'd step up. Right now, it all depended on how long she could hold on. 1 bolt, 2 bolts, 5 bolts, far away. Miao Jingyun, who was in the main hall of the Miao residence, furrowed his brows as he looked at the lightning bolts falling from the sky. His expression became more and more solemn. The venerable heavenly tribulation that Miao Xiao Miao was facing this time was filled with danger, but the duration of the tribulation was relatively short. There were only 9 bolts of lightning, and it was the most ordinary heavenly tribulation. If not for the fact that the Heaven Extremes pill had increased her cultivation a little too much, causing Miao Xiao Miao to directly cross the threshold of the tribulation without any time to prepare, it really wouldn't be considered a difficult heavenly tribulation. It's already 7 bolts. As long as she can endure the last 2 bolts, she can be considered to have passed this tribulation. Don't worry, madam. Xiao Miao will definitely be able to pass through safely, definitely. Miao Huanyu was also counting the number of times the lightning bolts had fallen. Although his expression was calm, Madame Miao, who was leaning against him, could feel her husband's hand trembling as he grabbed her shoulder, causing a piercing pain. This hand was originally supporting her. Madame Miao laughed bitterly and endured the intense pain as she looked at the thick black clouds in the distance. Although her husband looked like he didn't care about anything and was always calm and collected, his love for his daughter was not any less than hers. He told her not to worry and said that she would definitely be able to pass through. Rather than saying that he was comforting her, it was more accurate to say that he was comforting himself in her entire life. This was the first time she'd seen him so anxious. There's still some lightning tribulation left. That means that the two of them are still undergoing the tribulation and will be fine. Miao Jingyan said in a low voice. It was unknown if he was saying this to himself or to someone else. It seemed as if he was comforting himself, but also as if he was seeking a guarantee. It's already 7 bolts. Miao Xiao Miao looked stubbornly at the tribulation clouds in the sky. A strand of her black hair was tightly clenched in her mouth. She said to herself in her heart, as long as I can endure 2 more bolts, this heavenly punishment will be over. I'll be able to be with Junyi forever. He told me earlier that he wants to hold my hand and grow old together with me. She turned her head subconsciously and looked at the white-robed youth standing not far away. She saw a look of deep concern on that youth's ordinary face under the illumination of the lightning. Although Miao Xiao Miao was feeling extremely uncomfortable all over her body, an inexplicable sweetness suddenly welled up in her heart. An indescribable energy once again filled her body. I will definitely be able to pull through. I will definitely be able to. A stubborn look flashed in Miao Xiao Miao's eyes. The happiness that I've been chasing for so long is right before my eyes. I will definitely not give up. Even if I have to risk my life, I will grab it in my hands. Thunder rumbled in the sky. An unprecedentedly powerful bolt of lightning suddenly pierced through the clouds and pounced down like a flying dragon. Following the sudden appearance of this bolt of lightning, a crackling sound could be heard in the air. Furthermore, the thickness of this bolt of lightning was at least twice as thick as the previous bolt of lightning. At this moment, the air was filled with a suffocating pressure. Silver Snake Dance. Purple Lightning Empyrean. That bolt of lightning, which contained unprecedented power, had already reached the top of Meow Xiao Meow's head in the blink of an eye. Meow Xiao Meow could clearly feel that in the face of this bolt of lightning, the power that she possessed was completely unable to withstand a single blow. Forcefully resisting, it was like an ant trying to shake a tree. The power of this bolt of lightning had already exceeded the scope of the heavenly punishment that a level 2 venerable could withstand. In fact, it was far beyond that. Even if the Holy Emperor were to personally face this bolt of lightning, he would not be able to withstand it. Why did this happen? What's going on? Could it be that the heavens are unwilling to let me obtain the true love that I've yearned for? Naturally, Meow Xiao Meow did not know that because of Jun Daxiao's intervention, it had triggered a mutation in Tian Fa. The Holy Emperor's level 4 powers that he had concealed might not be visible to the world, but Tian Fa would never make a mistake. Furthermore, there was a mutation. This bolt of lightning struck down according to the power of the Holy Emperor's heavenly punishment. Furthermore, it was the maximum power of the Holy Emperor's heavenly punishment. Meow Xiao Meow was filled with despair as she turned to look in Jun Moxie's direction and cried softly, "Jun, I'm sorry. Looks like I can't accompany you anymore. It's destined that we won't be able to grow old together." The bolt of lightning was about to strike her. Meow Xiao Meow drew out her long sword with a swoosh, not to resist the lightning, but to commit suicide. The lightning tribulation was coming for her. As long as she died, everything would disappear, but Meow Xiao Meow's pupils instantly dilated to the maximum, because she clearly saw that idiot. He was actually flying towards her at full speed. "What are you doing here? Don't come over." Meow Xiao Meow, who had originally wanted to commit suicide, instantly panicked. "Idiot! As long as I die first, this heavenly punishment will be over. You'll be safe. What are you doing here at this time? Quickly go back." Meow Xiao Meow's tears flowed out of her eyes. In the next moment, she felt a warm and strong body pressing down on her, covering her entire body under that comforting body. But this action, filled with concern, caused Meow Xiao Meow's heart to break and her soul to break. The long sword in her hand flew out with a clang. Meow Xiao Meow's heart suddenly ached, and she suddenly burst into tears. "Junyi, I don't want to. I don't want you to sacrifice yourself for me. I'd rather die myself, die 1,000 times, die 10,000 times. I also want you to live on well," but she knew that it was too late. Everything was too late. That terrifying bolt of lightning had already struck the body above her. That body seemed to twitch violently for a moment, then stopped moving. "Junyi!" Meow Xiao Meow's face was filled with tears as she suddenly screamed at the top of her lungs. Her screams were filled with despair and deathly stillness. In the great hall, "No, this is impossible." Miao Jingyan jumped up with a "who" sound as he stared at that strange bolt of lightning. He was in a daze. There was a hint of red within the dazzling white lightning. That was clearly the Holy Emperor's heavenly tribulation. Everyone's eyes widened in shock. What was going on? Could it be that a Holy Emperor expert had accidentally interfered with Meow Xiao Meow's heavenly tribulation and caused it to mutate? Chapter 10:30. The same thought flashed through everyone's mind. The Holy Emperor's heavenly tribulation. How could a mere second-level venerable like her possibly survive it? She would most likely turn into a wisp of green smoke the moment she came into contact with it. Madame Meow's eyes widened, and a groan escaped her throat as her body collapsed weakly onto the ground. Meow Huanyu stared blankly at the sky that was filled with darkness after the dazzling lightning disappeared. Suddenly, he shut his eyes tightly and raised his head towards the sky. Two streams of hot tears finally flowed uncontrollably from the corners of his eyes. Xiao Miao, Chao Guofeng by Qi Feng, and the rest all had their mouths wide open like statues. Everyone's eyes were filled with despair. "It's over. Junyi, you brat. You're really silly, Miao Jingyun howled madly, and his body shot out like an arrow from a bow. Wait, look. The one who grabbed him was the fourth-level Saint Venerable who'd snatched the heavenly jade earlier. His cultivation was the highest amongst everyone present. His eyes were fixed on the sky as he said slowly, "The tribulation clouds did not dissipate. What are you so anxious for? The tribulation clouds did not dissipate. The tribulation clouds did not dissipate. The tribulation clouds did not dissipate. How is this possible?" Miao Jingyun stared blankly at the sky. There were 3 sentences that were exactly the same, but they contained 3 different emotions. It was a full 3 stages of doubt, shock, and finally disbelief. The 8th bolt of lightning had already ended. Under such a powerful lightning bolt, there was no way that Miao could escape. But why did the tribulation clouds not dissipate? Strong winds blew in the sky, and torrential rain poured down. The sky grew darker and darker. That's right, not only did the tribulation clouds not dissipate, they became thicker and closer to the ground. All of this meant that the heavenly tribulation really had not ended, and was still continuing. There was a teeth-numbing, sizzling sound in the air as a thick bolt of lightning gradually took shape. Then, the moment it took shape, it impatiently broke away from the clouds and fiercely struck down. Subsequently, lightning bolts were brewing in the clouds one after another, and then they continued to descend. They didn't give the person undergoing the tribulation any time to recover. It was as if the heavens had been infuriated. In just a few breaths of time, dozens of tribulation lightning bolts had descended. Everyone in Misty Mansion was stunned. What was going on? The tribulation lightning at the back was thicker, stronger, and mightier than the one before it. Almost every tribulation lightning at the back was as thick as a water jar, and it struck down with a tyrannical force. One after another, it struck down without any signs of stopping. Even if there was a mountain at the location of the tribulation, it would have already been split into a white land, or a lake, or a deep valley. What about Miao, who was going through a tribulation there? Could he still hold on? Although the situation was not optimistic to the extreme, since the heavenly tribulation had not dissipated, that meant Miao was still going through her tribulation, and had not died. I am not dreaming, right? Miao Jingyun looked at the sky in a daze, not daring to believe what he was seeing. Subconsciously, he pinched his beard, and his face twitched in pain. But it was as if he didn't feel it at all, grabbing his thigh fiercely. Then, he turned his head and said, "This is not real." Only when he turned around did he realize that everyone present had the same expression as him. In fact, it was even worse than him. Their eyeballs did not even know how to move, and hundreds of cross-eyed people were gathered together. Especially those Saint Venerables. They were even more shocked. Even Saint Venerables would not be able to deal with these lightning bolts at the back. Miao. How did she manage to hold on? Why did all of this happen? Who was it that was helping her? If the 8th bolt of lightning at the Holy Emperor level could have been caused by a certain Holy Emperor who had accidentally interfered with Miao's heavenly tribulation, causing the lightning tribulation to mutate, then how could the rest be explained? That was clearly the person undergoing the tribulation enduring the mutated lightning tribulation. These layers of questions could only be asked after Miao returned, because right now, no one dared to go over. What a joke. This level of lightning, even if it was not superimposed, if a 4th level Saint Venerable went over, he would only be struck until his body was charred on the outside and tender on the inside. As for those below the Saint Venerable level, what was the point of going over? They would turn into ashes the moment they went over. Miao cried her heart out, forgetting that she was still undergoing the tribulation, forgetting that she was on the verge of death, completely forgetting everything around her. Her Junyi, in order to save her, sacrificed himself. When she thought of this, Miao felt that there was no longer anything left for her to live for. A deep sorrow welled up in her heart. Sob. What didn't I tell you not to come over? Sob. Why won't you listen to me, ah? If I die, you can still live, but if you die, how am I supposed to live? Tell me, ah. Miao cried her heart out, her little hands thumping her body unconsciously. Suddenly, a dazzling light flashed in the sky, followed by a bolt of lightning. Meow Xiao Meow instantly forgot to cry. What's going on? That's right, Mo Xie died in my place, but the lightning tribulation isn't over yet. That's good too. Let me go to the netherworld with Junyi and reunite in the Yellow Springs. Meow Xiao Meow closed her eyes and dispersed her remaining Xianqi, facing that sudden bolt of lightning without any resistance. The only thing she did was to hug the corpse that was pressing down on her with her jade-like arms. Boom! The earth shook, but the strange thing was that Meow Xiao Meow, who had given up all resistance and had decided to die, didn't turn into ashes. Their bodies didn't even have the slightest reaction, not even the slightest tremble. What's going on? So tight, lighter. You're hugging me so tight that I can't breathe. Are you trying to murder your husband? Meow Xiao Meow's eyes were wide open in surprise when the corpse on top of her suddenly gasped for breath with great difficulty. Hot air came out of his mouth and sprayed on her neck, as if it was very difficult for him to say those words. Meow Xiao Meow's beautiful eyes widened in an instant. Could it be a corpse coming back to life? It can't be, right? Meow Xiao Meow calmed herself down and looked towards the direction of the sound, only to see a certain hateful guy baring his teeth and smiling, his face hovering just above hers, less than half a foot away. Seeing her widened eyes, he actually winked mischievously. Sigh, looks like being struck by lightning isn't necessarily a bad thing. The brat on top of her was still smiling recklessly, looking at Meow Xiao Meow's extremely shocked, beautiful eyes. This guy actually waved his hand. Hey, soul, come back. You're not dead? Meow Xiao Meow's nerves completely stopped working, and she stammered out this sentence. Nonsense. I haven't even gotten the beauty. How could I be willing to die? Jun Moxie rolled his eyes and said shamelessly. But what's going on? How could there be such a strange change? Meow Xiao Meow's brain gradually began to work. She slightly raised her eyelids to look at the sky, only to see that there was still dense lightning striking down towards the two of them. The momentum was earth-shattering, but when it landed on the two of them, they didn't feel any pain or itch at all. How would I know what's going on? Didn't they say that there were only 9 lightning strikes? This is far more than 9. It's almost 99. Jun Moxie innocently rolled his eyes and suddenly came to a realization. Oh, I know. What? What do you know? Meow Xiao Meow hurriedly asked. Do you remember the second half of the couplet that I told you last time? Perhaps God felt that I didn't explain it clearly enough, so he personally explained it to you. Jun Moxie licked his lips, pointed to the sky, and said, See, isn't this thunder as the war drum, lightning as the flag, who dares to fight? Now, but do you understand? How vivid, how vivid. I understand your head. Meow Xiao Meow immediately retorted. This guy was really heartless. At such a critical moment, the words that came out of his mouth actually became God's explanation of couplets. Does the heavens have so much free time and leisure? Forget it. His strength is low. He may not know the pros and cons of this. It's better to concentrate on dealing with the lightning strikes. But how to deal with it? She was being pressed under his body, and the two of them were practically touching each other. Everything that should be touched, everything that shouldn't be touched, everything that should be touched, everything that shouldn't be touched, everything that should be touched, everything that shouldn't be touched. Although Meow Xiao Meow knew that the two of them were in an extremely bad situation right now, and she really shouldn't let her imagination run wild, she still couldn't help but blush and avert her eyes, not daring to look at young Master Jun. Not daring to look was one thing, but she could still clearly feel the strong, masculine body beneath her. A unique, manly scent wafted over, and Meow Xiao Meow suddenly felt her entire body go soft, and her heart thumped wildly, forgetting everything else. It seemed that she even forgot that she was in the middle of the heavens' tribulation. It seemed that even the mud on the ground had become a hotbed. Oh my, what am I thinking? It's so embarrassing. It doesn't matter whether you understand it or not. You just need to understand one thing. Jun Moxie looked at the flustered and trembling red lips under his face, and his heart skipped a beat. He only felt a fire suddenly rising in his lower abdomen, and he completely forgot what he originally wanted to say. Understand what? Meow Xiao Meow moved her little head with difficulty, and her eyes flickered, not daring to look at June Da Xiao, and her face became redder and redder. You just need to understand this. June Moxie couldn't bear it anymore, and he lowered his head and fiercely kissed the delicate, lovely red lips. Oh! Meow Xiao Meow was startled, and the first thought in her mind was, this guy is really mischievous. It's the critical moment of the heavens tribulation now. This girl, only now does she remember that she's in the middle of the heavens tribulation. Chapter 1031. Following that, Meow Xiao Meow once again forgot about everything. She only closed her eyes, allowing her sweetheart to wantonly molest her body. It seems like when that hateful big hand reached into her clothes, Meow Xiao Meow finally couldn't help but let out a moan. But as soon as she opened her mouth, she immediately felt something slippery swiftly swimming in her mouth. It was like a naughty little fish swimming around in her mouth. Following that, her little fragrant tongue also seemed to have been lured out by that slippery thing. An unprecedented, ecstatic, and strange feeling immediately invaded her whole body. Meow Xiao Meow only felt that her soul had been shaken, and in an instant, she was completely lost in that mysterious and indescribable wonderful state. She only felt that her soul was floating, as if she had ascended to the realm of immortals, as if she was intoxicated, as if she was in a fairy dream. The sky was still covered by dark clouds. The dark pressure was pressing down on the city. The wind was raging. The rain was pouring down. The thunder was earth-shattering, and the lightning was linked to the vast sky and the earth, continuously descending without a break. The entire heaven and earth were all trembling under the terrifying power of the heavenly tribulation. But at the center of the heavenly tribulation, there was a young man and woman. They're immersed in love and kissing, forgetting about everything else. They were so focused. The loud sounds in the sky and the violent tremors on the ground didn't seem to be able to disturb them in the slightest. After a long time, June Moxie slowly raised his head. Below him, Meow Xiao Meow's delicate face was red as if she was drunk. Both of her eyes were tightly shut, and her long eyelashes fluttered from time to time. Her delicate nose was slightly moving, and her tender red lips were like a delicate cherry, bright red and alluring. She lay motionlessly under her sweetheart's majestic body. Her towering breasts were violently heaving up and down, and the perfect curves of her body were completely covered by that man's majestic body. I don't know. What even do next? What should I do? Meow Xiao Meow closed her eyes, nervously imagining things, completely forgetting where she was at this moment. Meow Xiao Meow suddenly felt that her ears were a little itchy. Then a gentle voice sounded in her ears. The sky is the tent, the earth is the bed, the wind is the food, the rain is the wine, the cloud is the wedding, the fog is the witness, the thunder is the betrothal gift, and the lightning is the matchmaker. Meow Xiao Meow, are you willing to be my woman in this life? Meow Xiao Meow's eyes were still tightly shut, but she clearly heard the question. She didn't even think before nodding her head. I'm willing to be your woman for the rest of my life. Meow Xiao Meow's voice was as soft as a mosquito, but her tone was resolute and decisive. For the rest of my life. To be my woman, you don't have to be my woman for the rest of my life. You only have this life until the end of time. June Moxie smiled lightly. Then he leaned down again, wantonly tasting the sweetness of those delicate red lips. June Moxie said this sentence with his heart. To be his woman, there really wasn't a life for the rest of her life, because this life was enough to last until the end of time. The seas would dry up and the rocks would crumble. However, Meow Xiao Meow didn't understand all these, but she didn't need to understand it now, because her heart was already intoxicated. No matter what June Moxie said, she didn't have the ability to think anymore. Meow Xiao Meow moaned. Her jade-like arms stretched out, and she forgot everything else as she hugged the man who was lying on top of her. This was the person who she depended on for the rest of her life, the happiness of her life. Wholeheartedly, she offered her everything. The wind howled, the rain fell, the thunder rumbled, the lightning flashed, the clouds floated, and the earth shook. All of these showed that the weather was extremely bad, but in Meow Xiao Meow's heart, she felt incomparably comfortable, full of warmth, full of the sweetness of love. Because the sky was the tent, the earth was the bed, the wind was the delicacy, the rain was the wine, the clouds were the wedding, the fog was the witness, the thunder was the betrothal gift, and the lightning was the matchmaker. Which woman in this world would have such a day in her life? Meow Xiao Meow was satisfied, but also intoxicated. This place was filled with the lingering sweetness of love, but in the hall not far away, everyone was staring blankly at the terrifying heavenly tribulation in the distance, which continued to descend as if it didn't know what fatigue was. If a person's eyeballs could really pop out, then everyone's eyeballs would have fallen to the ground, and they wouldn't be able to pick them up. Even the calmest person wouldn't be an exception. A second. Level Venerable's heavenly tribulation actually took such a long time. There must have been at least 500 to 600 lightning bolts. Wasn't this too ridiculous? Even a 4th level Venerable's heavenly tribulation wouldn't have this many. Furthermore, it wasn't this powerful. The lightning bolts that were stronger than the one before continued to descend, and the most recent one was a purple lightning bolt as thick as a vat. Every time a lightning bolt fell, the faces of those old fellows would twitch intensely. This level of heavenly tribulation had obviously exceeded the limit of what everyone present could endure. But the most ridiculous thing was that the other side was actually still holding on at this moment. No one thought that Meow Xiao Meow still had any hope. The reason was that Meow Xiao Meow definitely wouldn't be able to survive this level of heavenly tribulation. If Meow Xiao Meow were to come into contact with this level of heavenly tribulation, she would immediately turn into ashes. Not to mention her, even the Holy Emperor would turn into ashes in an instant. Thus, the later heavenly tribulation definitely wasn't Meow Xiao Meow's heavenly tribulation. Only the ones at the beginning were. Meow Xiao Meow's heavenly tribulation must have been mixed together with the heavenly tribulation of a peerless expert. Otherwise, it was impossible for such a strange situation to occur. But who was the person undergoing the heavenly tribulation? No one would have guessed it. The person undergoing the heavenly tribulation was June Moxie. It was that free and natural physique, great prodigy MO. Of course, their guesses were not wrong. Right now, the heavenly tribulation was indeed the heavenly tribulation of two people mixed together, and it wasn't just a single wave. The last time Yao Qingcheng had transferred 1,000 years' worth of Yuan Qi to Jun Moxie, Miao Qingcheng had also sensed that Jun Moxie did not achieve a breakthrough in his cultivation. And in truth, Jun Moxie's art of unlocking heaven's fortune had indeed not achieved a true breakthrough. However, the sudden increase of so much pure origin energy of heaven and earth in his body had caused the level of his profound qi to soar by several levels. And Da Xiao's main cultivation was not Xian Qi. Thus, Miao Qingcheng did not understand. So much Xian Qi had been digested in Jun Moxie's meridians, and a portion of it had been directly used by the Hongjun Pagoda. That was why this lucky fellow did not explode. When Jun Daxiao had completely digested the pure heaven-earth Yuan Qi and turned it into a golden liquid in his body, he slowly turned the golden liquid into a purple Qi. By the time Miao Xiao Miao broke through, the art of unlocking heaven's fortune in Jun Moxie's body had automatically completed the conversion process. Miao Xiao Miao's successful heavenly tribulation was something that was already set in stone. But when Jun Moxie arrived at the scene of the heavenly tribulation, his Xian Qi cultivation was like the bamboo shoots in the spring, rising continuously. Miao Qingqing's 1,000 years' worth of Xian Qi. This was not the strength of a gold Xian that had cultivated for 1,000 years. This was a terrifying strength that could shock the world. Jun Moxie had originally been at the peak of the 3rd level of the Holy Emperor realm, in the awkward position of breaking through, but not breaking through. This time, he had broken through to the 4th level of the Holy Emperor realm. But his ascension was far from over. He broke through the bottleneck of the 1st level of the Holy Emperor realm, reaching the 1st level of the 1st level of the Holy Venerable realm. Then he continued to climb, reaching the middle level, then the high level, then the peak, and finally he broke through the 1st level of the 1st level of the Holy Venerable realm, reaching the 2nd level of the Holy Venerable realm. And this did not seem to be the end. Finally, he climbed all the way to the peak of the 2nd level of the Holy Venerable realm before stopping. At this time, Miao Xiao Miao had just finished withstanding the 7th strike of her heavenly tribulation. The aura that Jun Moxie's Xian Qi had dissipated from the breakthrough had instantly affected the heavenly tribulation in the sky. Therefore, from the 8th strike onwards, it became a 2nd level of the Holy Venerable who had suddenly intervened in Miao Xiao Miao's minor heavenly tribulation, triggering this shocking and terrifying heavenly tribulation. Moreover, this 2nd level of the Holy Venerable did not just need to go through one heavenly tribulation. He had accumulated several heavenly tribulations and passed through them together. Once for the 4th level of the Holy Emperor, once for the 1st level of the Holy Venerable, once for the 2nd level of the Holy Venerable, 3 super heavenly tribulations. When all of them were gathered together, how much energy would that be? Under everyone's dumbfounded gazes, the dark clouds in the sky raged for another 2 hours before finally dissipating helplessly. Just a moment ago, it was still raging with lightning and thunder, but in the blink of an eye, the sky had turned cloudless. It seemed like there wasn't even any wind, and a bright sun hung on the horizon. Only then did everyone realize that it was already afternoon. The sun was already leaning towards the west. "Let's go." Miao Jingyun took the lead, and a long line of people followed behind him. Everyone hurriedly used their fastest speed, rushing towards the center of the heavenly tribulation. With the speed of these people, how fast was that? And the place that Miao Xiao Miao had chosen to undergo her heavenly tribulation was not too far from the Miao family. So in just a few breaths' time, everyone had already arrived at the scene. When they saw the scene, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. This was the scene of the tribulation just now? From the looks of it, this place was originally a quiet little valley, right? Right now, it was a complete mess. The ground was filled with large pits, and all the plants in the valley had been struck down cleanly. Even the mountains on both sides had collapsed. In their memories, there used to be a small waterfall there. But now, that small waterfall had already turned into a small tattered cloth. Water flowed down from the top of the mountain, as if a child was taking a piss, and the center of the heavenly tribulation was completely empty. There were still the figures of Miao Xiao Miao and Mo Junyi there. Could it be that this pair of lovers had already been annihilated? This unfortunate, and yet most reasonable, thought came to everyone's mind. Chapter 1032. No one dared to voice out that ominous guess, even though everyone was well aware of it in their hearts. Search. Miao Jingyun's face was dark, and the rims of his eyes were a little red. Hugging onto his last shred of hope, he waved his hand and gave the order. Everyone immediately spread out with a whoosh. In an instant, they'd already searched the area within 100 li radius, but there was nothing to be found. Under the cover of such a terrifying heavenly lightning, even the beasts and birds in the vicinity had long fled. After searching for half a day, they actually couldn't find any signs of living beings. Could it be that those 2 people had already been turned into ashes in that terrifying heavenly tribulation? Although everyone had this thought in their hearts, when they saw the murderous look on Miao Jingyun's face, no one dared to say it out loud. Miao Jingyun's gaze was like lightning as he scanned everyone's faces. When he saw the Chiu family head, Chiu Chengyun, he paused for a moment. His eyes were deep and expressionless. Chiu Chengyun only felt as if his heart had been smashed by a 10,000 gene hammer. His entire body trembled, and a layer of cold sweat appeared on his back. My precious grandson, you're simply a troublemaker, This time, your grandfather's going to die because of you. F***CK. Look at what you've done, It's no longer just your matter now. Even the entire Chiu family will be implicated because of today's matter. Old Master Chiu, Chung Yun, wanted to cry, but no tears came out. This was truly being shot while lying down. Everything could only be blamed on that useless and unlucky grandson of his. Of all people, you just had to do it to Mo Junyi. And you even had to provoke him time and time again. Now, with this one act of yours, the free and natural physique prodigy that only appears once in 10,000 years was turned into ashes, and it even involved the most doted precious granddaughter of the Misty Mansion Manor head. The most unfortunate thing was that all of this happened on the day of the Misty Mansion Manor head's 500th birthday and also on the day of his granddaughter's engagement. This time, it was a red and white affair. A happy occasion had turned into a funeral. If this debt was not placed on the Chiu family, who else could it be placed on? F***CK. How unlucky can our Chiu family be? My son, what kind of child did you and your wife give birth to? Even if black smoke was rising from the graves of 8 generations of ancestors, it shouldn't have given birth to such an unlucky god. Chiu Qingyun wanted to cry, but no tears came out. The rest of the people looked at the Chiu family head with gloating eyes. Who asked you to be so arrogant? Mother of Kerr. He actually wanted to show off in front of us by making a miniature 1,000-year-old longevity pine. Now he's making a fool of himself, isn't he? There wasn't even the slightest sign of happiness and longevity. Instead, it was the sound of the death knell. Apart from ringing for others, it was also ringing for himself. Brother Gu, seeing Miao Jingyun turn around and leave without a word, Chiu Chengyun hurriedly looked around for reinforcements. First, he sent out a distress signal to Gu Yunyang. Everyone knew that Gu Yunyang had a lot of face in front of the manor head. Furthermore, he was also the one who had the most authority. Asking for his help might be able to appease some of the manor head's anger. This old man will go back and take a look. Hey, I wonder what's going on. When Gu Yunyang heard Chiu Chung Yun calling out to him, his entire body trembled. Pretending not to have heard, he turned around and disappeared without a trace. Only when he was out of sight did Gu Yunyang finally have the time to wipe away the cold sweat on his forehead. F***CK. It's better to let your fellow Taoists die than me. Your Chiu family is destined to be unlucky this time. If I say anything, who knows, I might drag my Gu family down with me. Of the 36 stratagems, it's best to flee. Pretending to be deaf and mute is the way to conduct oneself. It seemed like it was not only Gu Yunyang. Whenever Chiu Chengyin looked at someone, that person would immediately flee for his life. In the end, he was the only one left standing on the hillside. Even the Zhan family patriarch Zhan Wu Yun had fled. Looking at the empty area, Chiu Chengyun sighed with endless resentment. All of a sudden, he cursed loudly in an uncontrollable rage. Chiu Peng, you damn beast. Little bastard. You're such a reckless prodigal. You're the jinx that loses the light of the sun and moon. H. This old man is truly angered to death. One had to say, this Chiu family patriarch's cursing was really quite creative. A few old fellows who had walked far away heard it. Although their hearts were extremely heavy, they still could not help but want to laugh. No one could find Jun Moxie in Miao Xiao Miao. Then, where did the two of them go? The terrifying lightning tribulation had already dissipated, but the two of them were still entangled on the ground. Miao Xiao Miao could practically feel her divine sense rejoicing, her soul singing. She had long forgotten where she was. When she opened her eyes again, she realized that the lightning tribulation that caused all cultivators to tremble in fear had already disappeared. The surroundings were completely peaceful and tranquil. The surroundings were indeed very peaceful, but there was only chaos in front of her eyes. It was not peaceful at all, but in young Miss Miao's heart, this place was the most peaceful paradise in her life. The heavenly tribulation has passed? Miao Xiao Miao blinked her beautiful eyes in confusion as she asked. Jun Moxie laughed in his heart. Looks like this lass is so muddle-headed that she actually doesn't remember anything so engrossed. How would I know? I've also not undergone the heavenly tribulation, but I think it should have passed. Isn't the sky already clear again? Jun Dashao snickered. Looks like it was quite beneficial for him to act young. His strength was too low. It was only natural that he didn't know. Quick, get up quickly, you're so heavy. Meow Xiao Meow, who had completely regained her senses, instantly saw the situation around her clearly. She no longer had the thought of experiencing peace and tranquility. She hurriedly pushed away Jun Dashao, who was still crawling on her body. She stood up in a flurry and started to tidy up her clothes. However, under the ravaging of the storm and the rolling on the ground for so long, Meow Xiao Meow's clothes were already covered with mud. Moreover, during the heavenly tribulation, almost half of Meow Xiao Meow's clothes had already been torn apart, leaving her naked. How can I face others like this? Meow Xiao Meow almost cried out. She knew that after the heavenly tribulation, her grandfather and the others would definitely come to check on her. At that time, there would definitely be more than one person. It was highly possible that there would be hundreds of people. How could a young lady like her face like this? A woman might not be afraid of death, but she would definitely be afraid of her ugly appearance. This was probably the so-called love beauty to death. She then looked at her body. Half of her breasts were exposed. Half of her snow-white thighs were exposed, and there was a lot of mud on them. The contrast of the two made the white look whiter and the black look darker. Her originally beautiful black hair had become a mess. Miss Meow still didn't know that her beautiful face had become a dirty cat. Since you've chosen to undergo the heavenly tribulation here, you must be very familiar with the environment here. Are there any hidden places nearby? Places with water? You can go back after you wash up. Jun Moxie suggested. Of course, his eyes were definitely not idle at this time. They were rolling around Meow Xiao Meow's almost naked body. He was eating his ice cream, and his heart was filled with satisfaction. Usually this girl was so skinny. He didn't expect her to be so voluptuous. Her curves were excessively protruding, and her curves were frighteningly concave. It was simply the legendary devil's figure. Meow Xiao Meow covered her chest with one hand. She didn't have time to argue with him. She said, "There's a pool over there. There's a hidden cave beside it. I'm just not sure if it was destroyed in the heavenly tribulation." Meow Xiao Meow, who grew up in Misty Mansion, was naturally very familiar with the terrain. After looking around, she immediately said, "I don't think it was destroyed. Let's hurry over." Jun Moxie picked her up and walked away. After his divine sense was upgraded, he could sense that a large group of people was already rushing over. As for whether the cave was destroyed or not, it was not important at all. Even if it was destroyed, he could use the power of earth and water to create another one. As for why he was in such a rush, it was very simple. Meow Xiao Meow's current appearance was not something that could be allowed to be seen by others. Young Master Jun would definitely get jealous. No matter how he looked at his own woman, it was only right and proper. But if it was seen by others, he would definitely suffer a huge loss. Quickly find a place. Put me down. Let me go by myself. Meow Xiao Meow protested symbolically out of a woman's modesty and self-esteem. However, she curled up her whole body in Jun Moxie's arms. In fact, she didn't have any intention of struggling at all. It seemed that I had already come out, so what was there to worry about? With a swoosh, Jun Dashao and Meow Xiao Meow disappeared from the open space. Meow Xiao Meow's face was completely hidden in Dashao's arms. Her eyes were closed, so naturally, she didn't notice anything. Now, the two of them were walking in the void, completely invisible. No one could see them. After turning around the valley, there was indeed an unusually clear pool in front of them. On a mountain wall above the pool, there was a big cave. It wasn't destroyed by the lightning tribulation just now, so they didn't have to use the power of earth and water, and it was even more flawless as Jun Moxie flew. Tree branches flew out from his hands and accurately inserted into the open space around the pool. It seemed like he threw them randomly, but in fact they were intricate and well arranged. When he entered the cave with Meow Xiao Meow in his arms, The pool and the cave on a mountain wall had mysteriously disappeared. If someone were to come here, they would only see a piece of empty land, a small, disorienting formation. This formation didn't have much use. It was just a great camouflage so that no one could discover it. The moment she saw the clear spring water, Meow Xiao Meow felt even more uncomfortable. Her entire body was wrinkled and uncomfortable. She cheered and struggled out of June Moxie's arms. When she was about to jump into the water, she suddenly stopped and turned her head with a red face. "What are you going to do?" "What am I going to do? What do you mean, what am I going to do?" June Moxie was startled, but he immediately understood that this girl must be shy. He pretended to be confused and said, "What else can I do? You're dirty, but how can I be clean? Of course, I have to wash myself. I'm not handsome, and I look sloppy. Who would like me? But I." Meow Xiao Meow bit her red lips and stamped her feet. Her face was red, and she couldn't say a word. "But what? Why you sound so strange?" June Moxie asked deliberately. "But there's only one pool here." Meow Xiao Meow blushed and rolled her eyes at him. "You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.